Hello, and welcome to the Kelcast, the Hearthstone Arena podcast where we try to get better without cursing. I'm Keldar, a longtime Infinite Leaderboard arena player and streamer on Twitch. Joining me as my co-host is another arena leaderboard player, Kel Abel. If you want to find us on social media, you can search Keldar, that's Keludar, on Twitch, YouTube, or Twitter. All right, Kellen, what is it for this week?
Well, it is time, Kalidar. The cards are revealed. Our excitement's at an all-time high. We're going to be going over the new cards from Forged in the Barrens. This is our set review show.
Oh, man, I'm so excited. Yep.
Me too. Before we do, I just quickly wanted to mention the new arena rotation.
Yes.
The new rotation, which will start on March 30th, will be Core, Forged in the Barrens, Dark Moon Races mini set, Madness at the Dark Moon Fair, Skullman's Academy, Ashes of Outland, Rise of Shadows, and one of my all-time favorites, Mean Streets of Gadgetzan.
Yeah.
So it's definitely going to shake things up. But really, we're here to talk about the cards. So I just want to get that out there real quick.
Yeah, and for a simple way to think about it, basically, they're swapping out Ungoro and the Boomsday with Rise of Shadows and Gadgetzan. So basically, those three other sets are staying the same. So a lot of cards are staying the same. So it'll be interesting. All right, So first thing we need to figure out is we have a rating system. So we're going to be rating every card from 0 to 5. We will have half stars, so 0.5, 3.5. The general idea is that a 3... Now, the power level of cards in general has obviously gone up over time. If you look at the cards from like now to old gods, you can see that. So a 3, the easiest way to explain it is I'm going to try to base everything around thinking like a 3-mana 3/4. Normally, I would have said that's like a 2.5, but now I would say that's a 3. Like we're going to go off at 3 as an average, like statted card, like a 5/6 for 5, or even though those cards aren't necessarily good, but
a Spider Tank or a Chillwind Yeti.
Yeah. So a 5 is a card that like basically is one of those meta breakers like Twin Tyrant. A 4 is a card that anything that's a 4 you want to be drafting it like a lot. It's going to be pretty much a go-to card. If it's a 2, if it's a 3, like we said, it's average. If it's 2, it's probably got some synergy things where maybe it's like got some outliers where it's a little bit hard to pull off and the value is hard to get. A 1 is a card that you probably won't want to draft much, and a 0 is pretty much almost unplayable. So that's basically all you need to know.
That's like 1 mana, heal your hero for 5. That card is a 0. That's the kind of card we're looking at in that.
All right. So we are going to start. I'm going to let Kellen take it. Basically, we're just going to kind of go back and forth, and we'll share our ratings, and let's get to it. We're going to start with Demon Hunter. So
let me take it away then. All right, so Sigil of Silence, the 0 mana shadow spell. At the start of your next turn, silence all enemy minions. This is very similar to the card Silence from Priest. I do not plan on taking this card or putting it in my deck as very often. I would give it a 0.5 rating. I just don't think that that's an effect that's going to often have a large impact on a game. The second card is Fury. It's a 1 mana fell spell. Give your hero +2 attack this turn. And this is the upgrade card. So it goes at 5 mana, it upgrades to +4 attack, and at 10 mana, it upgrades to +6 attack.
Actually, it's 3 and 4.
Oh, is it 3 and 4?
Yeah, it doesn't go. Yeah.
Oh, that's much worse. I still think this card is fine. I would put it in my deck occasionally, but not really be happy to draft it. I think I would give this card a 2.5.
Yeah, it's kind of like
slightly below average.
Yeah, it's like a Twin Slice, but not as good. So but Twin Slice was broken, so that doesn't mean that this is bad. What'd you say it was, a 4? I mean, a 2.5, you said?
I think a 2.5, yeah.
Okay. That's fair.
Slightly below average. Tusk Piercer is the next card. That's a 1 mana 1/2 weapon with Death Rattle. Draw a Death Rattle minion. Based on what the other cards are that we'll get to in a second, I believe this is probably a 4-point card. It could be higher depending on how the drafts end up, but in an average deck, I would guess this is a 4-power card, a 4-star card. You're just going to draw a lot of Death Rattle minions, or you're going to include a lot of Death Rattle minions in your deck naturally based on what the class looks like right now. And a 1 mana 1/2 weapon that draws you a card would already be a 3.5, maybe a 4. So I think Tusk Piercer is going to be a powerful weapon.
Yeah, I guess I would say I'm probably more on like, I think this is more like a 3 for me, but only because of the fact that you might not get always. I know there's gonna be a lot of Death Rattle, so you're most likely gonna have, as long as you have like 2 or 3 in your deck, it'll be fine. But I guess there's just a lot of weapons it competes with, so I'm not saying that I think this card's fine. I just don't think it's like above average, but I I don't know. I think we'll have to see how the meta shakes out with Death Rattles. It could be a little bit better than I think. So.
Well, there's three death rattles in the class, so I'll just get to those in just a second. So speaking of, here's our first one, Razor Boar. It's a 2-mana 2/2 beast in Demon Hunter with death rattle. Summon a death rattle minion from your hand that costs 3 or less. So that's going to work with another minion that we're going to show up later. But there's a little bit of an effect in Demon Hunter where it kind of cascades upwards in mana cost. So one smaller minion will summon a more expensive minion from your hand. I don't think this effect is particularly powerful. It's way better on the Razor Boar than it was on the Shredder that we saw previously, the Fell Shredder. I'm not sure what the
right, because it can summon
4-3.
something bigger than it technically. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're actually going upwards, which is a pretty significant improvement. Also, it comes down earlier, so if you are able to do it, the card is going to have a bigger impact on the game. After turn 4, a 2-mana minion probably won't. So that there is some effect there, but I think this is going to be so synergy based. Like with Tusk Piercer, the weapon we just talked about, you're very likely to have enough Death Rattle minions to make it work. With Razor Boar, you have to have the Death Rattle minion not only in your deck but also in your hand, which makes it more challenging to engage. It does get better with Tusk Piercer in your deck though, because it gives you more opportunities to draw those Death Rattle minions. Yeah. I think for Razor Boar, I'd probably give it a 2.5 with the ability to bump up to a 3.5, or probably like a 3.5 at the most in the right deck. But I would give it a standard rating of 2.5.
Yeah, I would go a little lower, probably just because of the fact.
You're right. Probably down to it.
The only reason is because these cards that pull cards out of your hands now, they do have a lot of draw, but I just find them to not. It almost like it gets you a tiny bit of value bump, but then you run out of cards. Now, if there's a lot of card draw, maybe. I think this Death Rattle stuff is going to be pretty hard for them to pull off. And then, unfortunately, their whole set, as you're going to see, is based around it. So, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I think the Tusk Piercer is the one that's not, that you could play without any other things, and it's great.
Sure.
But,
so, do you want to go to the next one then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sigil of Flame, 2-mana fell spell. At the start of your next turn, deal 3 damage to all minions. This is a tough one to evaluate. It's going to depend on what your deck looks like. It's going to depend on how powerful the cards you've already taken are. It's going to depend on the average health of your minions. But for the most part, I think this is still a good card. The ability to spend 2 mana for a 3-point AoE is really strong, and it can even be done in the same way we used to play Doomsayer, where you preemptively play it in order to stop your opponent from playing minions so that you can load the board up first. Even if it only kills like a 2/3 and a 1/1, that's still a pretty good mana value for one card, and it probably ate some of your opponent's mana up too when they didn't play stuff with it on their turn.
So a lot of the cards that we've had that have had these like dormant effects have been like a 2-turn effect. This, because it's the following turn, I think makes it much easier to make it like able to set it up and that kind of thing. So this one I'm very curious about. It makes it really awkward for your opponent, and it, basically you can play it in a situation where there's a lot of situations where this will be good. So I think this is pretty decent.
Yeah, I don't think it's too high above average, but I do think it's an above average card. I would give this a 3.5 out of 5.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on the 3.5 here. I think that's a pretty fair rating.
And that could go up. I'm gonna have to play with the card a bit.
Yeah,
but it definitely has the opportunity to be really good. Okay, the next card you'll remember from Razor Boar. It's called Razorfen Beastmaster, and it's a 3-mana 3/3 with no minion tag. It has Death Rattle. Summon a Death Rattle minion from your hand that costs 4 or less. I keep reading that backwards. The actual text is summon a Death Rattle minion that costs 4 or less from your hand. I don't think that matters, but I just keep reading it backwards for some reason. This looks the same as the Razor Boar. If you have enough Death Rattle minions, if you have a high enough density, it's going to be fantastic. But in general, I'm not too excited about Razorfen Beastmaster. I would give it a 2 as well, just like we did for Razor Boar, 2 stars.
Yeah, I think that's
and with the ability to
fair.
bump up in the right deck.
Right, yeah, fair. And that's something we have to mention. There's a lot of these cards that, unfortunately, the synergies, we're trying to base it around a fairly vanilla deck to do the ratings. All right, so next we got Vile Call for you.
Yep, a 3-mana spell, summon 2 demons with lifesteal. 2 2/2 demons with lifesteal. This is probably the best version of this card we've seen so far.
Yeah.
It's without the lifesteal as well as being demons is pretty important. So I think maybe the imp, the 3-mana 2/2 imp was better because of hand buffs, but Vile Call looks like it's going to be a 3.5. Just enough above average.
That's kind of where I'm at. I have to say that I tend to be down on these. I don't like these 2/2 split bodies generally. I don't know. It just doesn't seem. But this one does have lifesteal, so I think I would have given this a 3 otherwise. But the lifesteal, you have to give it a tiny bit of a bump. So I agree with it.
All right, next we have our first legendary for Demon Hunter, and that's Kurtrus Ashfallen. I hope I'm saying that right.
Yeah.
4 mana, 3/4, Battle Cry. Attack the left and rightmost enemy minions. Outcast, immune this turn. This is a 5. This card's going to be absolutely...
Boom! It's our first 5, chat. We got it.
I don't foresee you ever taking a different card. When you cast this, it is 4 mana, deal 6 to a single minion if they have 1 minion.
Yep.
Or 4 mana, deal 3 to 2 separate minions. And if it just did that and didn't leave you with a 3/4 body, it would still be fine. So having a 3/4 for almost free is completely ridiculous. I just don't see passing this card. I'm going to take it almost every time.
And if you somehow actually have a board and you're actually able to control the left and right minion to some degree, and it can you can do some nasty stuff with this card. So really, really good.
Next is
I love this
4
card,
mana 4/4 Vengeful Spirit. It has Outcast, draw 2 Death Rattle minions. I think this card is well above average.
Yes.
I think this card is very good. Much like Tusk Piercer, it's going to require you to have a high density of Death Rattle minions in your deck. But just like Tusk Piercer, it doesn't ask you anything else. You don't have to have them in your hand. You don't have to have them anywhere. They just have to be in your deck. And the only difficulty with Vengeful Spirit is going to be ensuring that it has the Outcast triggered. But I don't think that's been too hard. With my experience playing Demon Hunter, I've been almost always able to get my Outcast working as long as I'm planning ahead. So I think in the hands of the right player, if you're planning ahead to get this Outcast trigger on a good turn for Vengeful Spirit to come down, you're looking at a 4. I think Vengeful Spirit is a 4.
Yeah, I've struggled with this card a little bit because as much as I love the effect and I love the card, I almost thought about giving it a 3.5, only because the fact that late game, like playing this early is really awkward because, like, frankly, there's fishy flyers and stuff. So like, it's really good late game. I think on curve it's a little bit. I found that even with like the 4 mana 5/4 that gave the 2 1/1s, that card can even be awkward to get down as an outcast. So early game. So I think it's a really good late game value generator. So I'd probably give it like a 3.5, but I want to say 4, but like I'm just a little nervous about how
it can be a little awkward early, and it can be a little, and it might not get its full value late. But I think in almost every scenario, you're going to be able to find the value out of it.
And I do think if we know the meta, we know the cards aren't changing. You're going to have claw machines and proto. So this card, I think 4 is fine. I'm curious if this card will be slightly worse than I think it is, but I'm not sure yet. We'll see.
Yeah. All right, last one. This is the final Demon Hunter card. It's our second legendary. It is Death Speaker Blackthorn. It's a 7 mana 3/6 with Battle Cry. Summon 3 Death Rattle minions that cost 5 or less from your deck. So, kind of playing on the same theme we saw with Razorboar and Razorfen Beastmaster. Of after it dies, you get, summoning minions that have Death Rattle directly to play. But this one is a Battle Cry, not a Death Rattle. And more importantly, it takes them from your deck, not your hand. So, this is very much like a N'Zoth style card. It's not as powerful, obviously, because it only summons minions that cost 5 or less. But I don't know. I think this card is going to be pretty good. If you can take this early and draft around it, where you can have, I guess, what would be the need for Death Rattle minions here? You'd probably need 5 to make it fantastic, maybe 6 to make it fantastic, 4 to be good, and 3 to be fine. Because even at 2 minions, you're still at a huge advantage with the Death Speaker Blackthorn.
Yeah. I think I disagree. Go ahead. Whatever you think. What do you think the rating is for this?
I think it's not going to be as good as something like the Kurtrus Ashfallen, but it's probably still, man, it's probably a 3 in the average deck, and it probably is. It can scale up to 4, 4.5 in the right deck, but
yeah,
I would guess it's a 3 most of the time.
Okay, I thought you were actually going to rate it higher the way you were talking about it, because I was like, oh man, I hope he doesn't rate this like a 4.
No, it's got a really high ceiling. It's got a really high ceiling. Like
the only thing that holds this card back is the 5 or less cost, because you will have a lot of potentially, like, I don't know what death rattles are in, but like for smaller
Harvest Golem or whatever.
Yeah, I'm just saying it. Yeah, I think it'll be. Yeah, I was going to say, like, it's one of those cards that's really hard to rate because of it's so deck dependent. So it's probably fine to say 3. I was gonna say 2.5, but it is.
So here's the thing, though. Here's the thing: if you summon only a 3/3, you are achieving average stats.
Yeah.
So if
But
you're summing only a total of 3/3 stats, then you're achieving average stats, and you're a 3/3 statted card. That's why, or a 3-starred card. So
yeah.
that's I think a pretty worst case scenario.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to see. It'll definitely, we'll see how many death rattles that you can get under. I think it's if it was like ones that could be higher than 5, I'd be a little higher on it because you can't get claw
Oh,
machines,
for
unfortunately.
sure.
Well, then it would be
Yeah, or
broken.
proto drakes.
They
Yeah, yeah,
probably,
it'd be
or
absolutely
pros,
ridiculous.
God.
Yeah,
Yeah, that would be kind of silly.
you
All
can get
right.
Scrapyard Colossus.
All right. So, right, chat, we're going to move on to the next class, which is, what do we got? Oh, Druid. Oh, goody. I get to do Druid. Okay. All right. So, sad thing, I love rank spells, but it's not starting out good for Druid here. We got a Living Seed. It's 2 mana, rank spell that draws a beast, reduces its cost by 1, upgrades when you have 5 mana. It's a nature spell. It basically at rank 5, it reduces the cost by 2, and then at rank 3 at 10 mana reduces it by 3. You're probably going to have a beast in your deck, so it's not going to be a matter of not drawing anything that I'm worried about, but the cost reduction is very not, I don't think it's going to do much on the turn that you play it, and if you're not utilizing the mana on the turn that you play this, it's really not that good. I look at this more as just a regular draw card with a tiny bit of upside. I guess I'd give this a 2.5. I don't know. It's not great to me.
That sounds about right to me. It's only equal on mana after 5 mana crystals anyways, and then you can't do the thing where you use it early and then have a big turn later. So
yeah. All right, moving on. We've got Mark of the Spike Shell. It's a 2 mana nature spell. Give a minion +2/+2 if it has taunt, add a copy of it to your hand. So on a base value, I think I have to give this card. I'm gonna give it slightly knowing the meta a little bit and what's out there. I have to give this card, I think. It's hard to give it a 4 because it is a little bit conditional. And if you're just getting the 2/2 buff, it's very average. It's probably like a 2.5 or 3. But the upside of this card is so insane, and you typically want health and attack on taunts. So I'm gonna give this card. I think I'm overshooting a little, but I'm gonna give it a 4 because I think its upside is that strong that this card will lose you. You'll lose to this card. I think this card's gonna be a little. There's some people that are down on this card a little bit because I think they think about it does require you to have taunts, but there's a lot of them out there. So
yeah, I think I would not give it that high of a rating because it's for the same reasons that we were talking about with the 4 mana 4/4 that draws you death rattles from your deck.
Yeah.
Early in the game, you probably won't have a taunt to take advantage of the +2/+2 and get a value trade. And then later in the game, your taunts might not need that +2/+2. Although it is very good when you put it on a big taunt minion and you get another big card. It reminds me of Smug Senior.
Even getting a 2/2 buff though early can be good. So even if you don't pull off the effect, it still works. If it didn't work that way, it would be really bad. So I think, frankly, I was going to give this a 3.5 or something, but I don't know. I just feel like this card's going to be way better than we think. But this is a card that I think might surprise people a little bit, but we'll see. All right, so next we've got Razormane Battle Guard. It's a 2 mana 2/3 minion. The first taunt minion you play each turn costs 2 less. I love this card. I think this card's really dope. It's kind of like a mana cheat. Like, you're probably going to get more value out of it when you kind of combo it on the same turn. Because it's only a 2/3, and by the time you would just kind of have this sitting on the board, people are probably going to kill it pretty quickly. But you can basically cheat out a little bit of a 2 extra damage on the board when you have turn 4, you can play like a 4 mana taunt and this. So that I think it's really solid. I don't think it's a broken mechanic. I guess I'd give this thing like a 3.5. I don't think it's like crazy, but I think it's really good. So
yeah, if Spider Tank is 3, this is probably 3.5. I agree.
Yeah. All right. So moving on, we've got Thorn Growth Sentries. It's a 2 mana nature spell. Summon 2/1/2 turtles with taunt. They are beast. So yeah, this card's. I don't think this card's that particularly great. It's not the stat line you really want for 2 mana. I guess I'd give this like a 2.5. It's got a little bit of synergy. There's some taunts. It can be kind of annoying. Like you can kind of compare this to a Noyatron slightly, where it's like 2 bodies you have to go through. But I think it's weaker than that overall. So I wouldn't,
Wow, I'm really surprised to hear you say that because if I was offered Thorngrowth Sentries versus Mark of the Spike Shell, I would slam the Sentries immediately because we've seen this card before in Druid, and it was
Mhm.
very good previously when they printed it with Lifesteal instead of Taunt. And I think Taunt is an upgrade over that.
Yeah, I don't.
You know,
I don't know. It. I guess it's probably at least a 3. But like, I mean,
on
like a
its face, it's 2 mana 2/4, so that alone makes me
yeah, but I
wanna.
don't want to just completely base it because when it's split buys on the stats are 100% the same, because it's like I said, I don't know. I think it's fine. I don't think it's like great, but
Okay.
yeah.
Wow. Okay.
All right, so we've got Guff Rune Totem, one of the first legendary Druid cards, a 3 mana 2/4. After you cast a nature spell, give another friendly minion +2/+2. Really strong effect, but I don't even though it's cheaper than a lot of these like conditional cards that they've had like this in the past, I still don't really think this is gonna. You have to have one. You actually have to have a nature spell, which a decent amount of times you probably will because most of the Druid spells are natures. But I don't think this card's the stat line if you play it normally is not that great. It's hard to again evaluate cards like this because if you had a ton of spells and stuff, maybe this card would be a little bit better. But I guess because it has such a strong upside, I'll give it a 3. But I don't even know if I should. I might.
Yeah,
Maybe,
I agree with you, man. You have to trigger it for it to be a good card, and then it's just an above average card.
I guess I'm gonna really. I think I should give it a 2.5. I'm trying to be like I. It does have a really big upside potentially, but I think it's just not.
I think you have to have like 7 nature spells in your deck to want Guffer and Totem and be happy with it.
And the other thing is, like I said, you have to combo them later. Like you're never gonna just slam this on the board and it's never gonna live. I mean, so this thing's just too hard to pull off. It had to either have been cheaper or like reduce the cost of the spells too or something. There had to be something else to make this card better, but it's just not it. So next we have Plague Maw the Rotting, a 4 mana 3/4 minion. It's legendary. After a friendly minion with taunt dies, summon a new copy of it without taunt. I mean, I guess there's going to be a decent amount of taunts. I don't know. I don't know how to evaluate this card, to be honest with you. I'm kind of like, I don't think this card's very good. I mean, it's just because, like, let's say you play a Bone Chewer, right? You slam that down for 7 mana. Like, you still got to get this thing behind it somehow. You can't play it in front of it. You can't play it before the taunt because it'll die. If you play it after the taunt either might be dead already or, I don't know. I just feel like it's too difficult to, it might be good like with that 2 mana 1/2 thing, like you play this and that, I guess, or something. But I just think I'm not sure if you can get enough taunts down to make this good. So
Yeah, you've got to trigger it once for it to be good. And if you trigger it twice, it's great, but you have to trigger it once, and that could be difficult the first time.
I think I got to give this probably I'm gonna give it like a 2.
Okay.
What do you think? Do you think that's?
I think this is a synergy card. It's like one of those cards where you can't really give it a standard rating. In the right deck, it's a 4.
Okay,
In
this
the
is the
wrong
one.
deck,
This is
it's a
one I'm
2.
actually really excited to talk about, and I think this one will surprise some people a little bit. So, Pride's Fury, 4 mana spell. Oh, it doesn't actually have a tag on it. I'm sure it's a nature spell, but on this thing it doesn't show it. Give your minions +1/+3.
Oh, I don't think it is a nature spell, right? It isn't actually though, right?
I don't know, but it doesn't have a spell. It has to have a spell type, and it doesn't have one listed.
No, there can be spells without tags.
There can.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought every spell would have a tag. So here's the thing. I try to think about this in a certain respect on how hard it is for play Soul of the Forest, and everybody knows that I like token druids and stuff. I think this card's. I like this card actually more than Soul of the Forest because the buff is active going into the attack potentially. Like you're never gonna want to play this like you're gonna want to be playing this when you have a board already and then you're pushing, right? I think this card is really hard to evaluate because it's really good, but it doesn't produce minions on its own like Arbor Up. So like Soul of the Forest, I don't know. I think I'm gonna give this like a I don't know. I guess I'm gonna give it like a 3. I think it's. I don't think it's as terrible as I think it is, but I think it's hard. I don't like these conditional cards as much.
Yeah.
It's just hard because like it's better than Soul of the Forest. Like I said, if you have it on stuff on the board and you push in with it, but because you have the +1 attack, But you have to actually have the board to do that. So I don't know if Token Druid's going to be good. So do you like this card or not?
I don't like this card. I don't think it's very good.
Yeah.
I think it's good in the right situation, but a lot of Druid cards are making me nervous because they all seem to have that same caveat.
I will mention that Druid is now getting Mark of the Lotus back, and they're also getting the double twin spell buff back. And they're getting the 8 mana fill your board with 2/2s or whatever thing, twin spell.
Oh.
Yeah, so they're getting...
So that's something.
Yeah, so that's one of the reasons I'm a little bit higher on this card slightly. Okay, so next card is a Thick Hide Kodo, 4 mana, 3/5 beast minion. Has taunt, death rattle, gain 5 armor. This card's fine. It kind of reminds me of the Demon Hunter Lifesteal card. It's got the same stat line. It'll probably give you about the same amount of health. Defensive taunts are decent. Taunts have some synergy in Druid right now. I'd give this like a... I guess I have to give it... I guess I'll give it a 3. 3.5 maybe.
Yeah, I think 3.5 is fine.
3.5
I'd be happy to. Yeah.
So, all right. And then we got... Okay, so this is just a 0. All right, so Celestial Alignment... This is made for Constructed, obviously. 7 mana arcane spell. Set each player to 0 mana crystals. Set the cost of cards in all hands and decks to 1. So yeah, I think that is enough said about that. We can move on.
That card is not for us. There might be a deck that can play it, but it is.
It's not Arena. It's not Arena. All right, so that is... Oh, wait, I missed a card. I'm sorry. Let me go back.
A very important card.
I missed the 5. Damn it.
Yeah.
I missed it. Okay, so Druid the Plane. This card is obviously insane. 7 mana, 7/6 beast minion with rush, frenzy, transform into a 6/7 Kodo with taunt. I mean, I don't know how many different ways to explain that this is a 5, but it basically allows you to free trade. It's almost the same as if a minion had. It's close to a 7 mana 7/6 with Divine Shield. Frankly, it's close, and then it gives you a 6/7 taunt afterwards. So as long as the thing doesn't have more than 5 attack. It just free kills it, and then you're just sitting with a big taunt. This thing's just insane. I mean...
Yeah, I view this as a 7 mana 6/7 taunt that deals 5 damage when it comes into play, because you're probably... I mean, it can deal up to 7, but you're probably not going to kill something that big unless you happen to hit a senior or something. So, yeah. It's
the fact that this kills senior is actually kind of crazy.
It's disgusting, yeah.
And so, yeah. 5. There it is. We got a 5. All right.
All right, on to Hunter.
Hunter.
Our first Hunter card is Sunscale Raptor. It's a 1 mana 1/3 beast with Frenzy. Shuffle a Sunscale Raptor into your deck with permanent +2/+1. I think this card is absolutely fine. 1 mana 1/3 beasts are great because they're above average on stats, and they let you get a beast in play. Beast synergy is always going to be a thing for Hunter. I think this is a 3.5. It's just slightly above average. You're not really excited about having a 1 mana 3/3 in your deck, but I'll take it.
It's a 3/4.
Oh, 3/4. That's a little better. That's true.
Not that it's much better, but yeah.
Yeah, still, I'd be happy to have that. Lets me double spell later in the game.
Yeah.
All right, next we have a 1 mana spell, Wound Prey. Deal 1 damage, summon a 1/1 hyena with rush. I've always been a huge fan of these cards. This is the best version we've seen so far. In the past, they typically just make a 1/1. This is Elven Archer with rush, is really what this card says. And the rush it's also a beast. So,
and it can go face.
And it can go face, yeah. The ping can go face. So again, a 3.5, slightly above average. I'd be happy to put it in my deck, but I need more powerful cards to make my deck great.
Yeah.
And then we got Kolkar Pack Runner. It's a 2 mana 2/3. After you cast a spell, summon a 1/1 hyena with rush. So unfortunately, I don't think this card's going to go crazy like it totally could.
Yeah.
But it's probably again a 3.5. It's slightly above average. Its stat line is fine, and then occasionally you'll be able to trigger it and get an extra 1/1.
Yeah.
Prospector's Caravan is the next card. It's a 2 mana 1/3. At the start of your turn, give all minions in your hand +1/+1. I do not like this card. I think it's great if you're on the draw and you coin it up on 1, then that's the only time.
That's it. That's the only time.
So I give this a 1.5. This reminds me of Veteran Armor Smith, a card I just never really want to have in my deck. Then we got Tame Beast, which is my favorite Hunter card. It's a 2 mana spell. Summon a 2/2 beast with rush, and this is the one that ranks up. So at 5 mana, it summons a 4/4. At 10 mana, it summons a 6/6. This card's absolutely busted. You want to keep it and hold it as long as you can and drop it later in the game. If you can hold it till 10 mana, that's a 2 mana fireball to their minion. So I think this card is a 4. I don't think it is better than that because it's not going to win you a game by itself or anything, but it is really powerful even if you are
Yeah,
just
I agree with the
casting it at
4
5
rating.
mana.
I think that's good. Yeah,
Pack Kodo is our next card. That's a 3 mana 3/3
this one's
with
fun.
that's a beast. With Battle Cry, discover a beast, secret, or weapon. So that's going to give you 3 options. One will be a beast, one will be a secret, one will be a weapon, and you'll get to put one in your hand. This card's absolutely ridiculous. It reminds me of Curious Glimmerroot, except you're guaranteed to get the cards. So Curious Glimmerroot's already like a 3.5 to a 4. I'm pretty sure Pack Kodo is just straight up a 4. It's a 2-for-1 without any work, and you're getting a reasonably sized body with a beast tag.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really, really good card. Pack Kodo is going to go in every deck that I can see it. Yeah, it might be a 4.5. It's really good.
I think if I could see them making it as a 3/4 stat line. If it was, I might go that high. I'm not. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's close.
The
It's
fact you could discover a weapon is insane to me.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna leave it at 4 just because it doesn't win the game by itself, but it's close.
Yeah.
And we got our first Hunter Legendary, which is Tavish Stormpike. He's a 3 mana 2/5. After a friendly beast attack, summon a beast from your deck that costs 1 less. This card is for constructed. It's a combo built card where you summon a I don't even know what the system will be, but there'll be some little combo thing where you attack with a like a 4 mana 5/2 rush, and you get a 3 cost minion from your deck, and you kind of cascade downwards. But in Arena, I still think it's a fine card. It's actually probably above average because its stat line is average. So being a 3 mana 2/5, it's already locked in at a 3. And then if you ever get it to trigger, which isn't impossible due to Sunscale Raptor existing and all the other 1-cost beasts, I think it probably bumps up to a 3.5. But it's going to be hard to make it work.
Yeah.
If you make it work and you got a deck that is just loaded with beasts, then it can go way up. Its ceiling is really high, but on average, I think you're looking at a 3.5 here.
Yeah.
Okay, now we got a card I'm very scared to play against. Piercing Shot.
I love this card.
This is a 4 mana spell, deals 6 damage to a minion. Excess damage hits the enemy hero. So it's basically trample damage on a spell, and we've seen this with Stampeding Rhino, and Stampeding Rhino is one of the highest performing cards in Hunter right now. And it's not just because it's a 5 mana 5/5 rush beast. It's because you can finish people from very high life totals while affecting the board. So you can attack your opponent's minion down to 1 health, kill it with a Stampeding Rhino, and deal 4 damage to their face. I think Piercing Shot's going to do the same thing, where they might, finish on a Pen Flinger or something. Then you end up having a 4 mana deal 5 to their face spell as well as affecting the board.
Yeah.
I think this card is a 4 in Hunter. It's going to allow you to clear the board and get the face damage you need.
Yeah, I was gonna give this a 4.5. I was thinking about it anyway. It's definitely good. You can also target your own minions. So if you have a 1 health minion sitting on the board,
I didn't even notice that. That makes sense. That's kind of funny.
Huh. It's gonna happen. Believe me, it'll.
Oh, yeah.
Does that make it a 4.5? No,
I don't think that.
I'm gonna make it 4. I'm gonna say 4. It's 4.5.
Okay. Warsong Wrangler is a 4 mana 3/4 with Battle Cry. Discover a beast in your deck. Give all copies of it +2/+1. So even if you have like 5 copies of it, every copy of them gets +2/+1. This card is absolutely fantastic. On its face, it's a 4 mana 5/5. Just with the stats, it gives the 1 beast that you get. That's kind of nuts. So it also draws you a card. I mean, I don't really understand how this is possible, but it's a 4 mana 5/5 draw card, and you get to choose your card from the beasts in your deck. Yeah, I think this is just as good as anything else we've seen. I think this is a 4.5. I think it's just slightly better than Pack Kodo due to that. Yeah, I would give Warsong Wrangler 4.5. Just a lot of stats and a lot of card draw.
Yeah.
And finally, our last legendary is Barak Kodobane. It's a 5 mana 3/5 Battle Cry. Draw 1, 2, and 3 cost spell. This is just a 3. It's going to be the same almost. It's always as Tolvir Stone Shaper. Is that the card? The 5 mana 3/5. No, Tolvir Warden. I'm not sure. But 5 mana 3/5 get two 1 drops from your deck to your hand. I mean, typically what's going to happen is you're going to play Barak Kodobane, you're going to get a Wound Prey or something from your deck, and that's it. And that's great. There are decks where it's going to be good. A deck where you have like 2 copies of Tame Beast and a Wound Prey. That'll be a fantastic time to play Barak Kodobane. But in most situations, I think this is going to be just a 3.5, somewhere in that range.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. So now, that's the last card on Hunter, right?
That's right. That's the last Hunter card. We're on the Mage.
Mage, baby, let's go. All right. Oh, these are some fun cards to evaluate. All right, so first we're going to start with a 0 mana frost spell called Flurry. It's one of the ranked spells. It freezes a random enemy minion. Let me check, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So once it goes to rank 5, it freezes 2 minions. When it goes to rank 3, it does 3 minions. With Spell Burst in the meta still and everything, I don't even know how to rate this card. This one's a weird one. It can be. It's kind of like a. I guess it could be like a 0 mana Frost Nova, which honestly is kind of good. But it also could just do nothing for the board either. This effect is strong. I don't know. I guess I might need help on this one, Colin. I guess I'll give it a 3, but I don't know.
Oh, I don't like this card at all.
I mean,
I'd give it like a 1.5.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it might be okay, just because, like I said, I've taken Frost Nova and been okay with it, and it kind of does more than that, but it's later in the game. I don't know. Yeah, it's probably not a 3. Maybe I'll give it a 2. I'm not really sure.
Well, it's just like with Frost Nova. If I have a Frost Nova and I cast it and it's good, then that's the one time Frost Nova was good, and then there's a lot of other times where it sits in my hand and doesn't do anything.
Yeah. I like it because of Spell Burst, too, but I mean, obviously, by itself, it's just a 2. All right, so the next spell is Ruined Orb, 2 mana arcane spell. Deal 2 damage, discover a spell. All right, well, I don't know if I have to really. To me, this is a 5. This card's insane. You're going to lose to this card a lot. Discovering a spell is really strong. Obviously, dealing 2 damage for 2 is not necessarily insane, but you're basically getting. I mean, you're getting a discover for. The way you can look at this a couple ways. You're getting a discover for free. You're getting 2 damage for 1 mana. I don't know, but it's good. And you're just gonna be able to make card generation and small, and it goes face too. So it's basically a much better Frostbolt in every way. So I think it's pretty insane.
I think I'd be a little lower, but it's a great card. It is so good. I'm really excited to play it.
Yeah. Wildfire, 2 mana fire spell. Increase the damage of your hero power by 1. So this is a card that I would say I will be very, very happy to discover, but not so happy to draft. And I think it's actually a great way to look at this card. I think it's a powerful effect. If your opponent plays it on 2, it'll be pretty frustrating. This is, again, one of those cards that's hard to evaluate because its power level is so high if you pull it off in the right situation. But you don't necessarily even want more than 1 damage on a ping anyway. So it doesn't even always get its full value. So you're potentially spending 2 mana for nothing. I'm going to give it because of the fact that I don't want to really draft it, I guess I'm going to give it a 2.5. I don't know.
It's the same exact card as Shadowform, isn't it?
Basically. But Shadowform was 3, though. It's the same.
I think they dropped it to 2.
They did. It is the same as Shadowform is now, but yeah. So.
Yeah. Except you can't use your hero power twice at the same turn that you cast it. That's the only difference.
Yeah. So
I think I like this card a little more than you, but yeah, it's.
What would you rate it?
I think I would pretty much take this most of the time. I think this is. I think that the ability to go up by 1 damage is so huge, but I'd probably give it a 3.5, maybe a 4. I think it's really good.
So the next card we got is Arcane Luminary, 3 mana, 4/3 elemental minion. So the card text is cards that didn't start in your deck cost 2 less, but not less than 1. I have noticed that Blizzard has been kind of doing these checks and balances in their cards where things don't go to 0 mana and things, so that's good. So there's a lot of card generation right now. I think this card's really good. The stat line's fair, so you got to give it a 3 just based on the stat line. It also has an elemental tag, but there's just so much card generation that I don't think you necessarily you wait till you generate a ton of cards and you just throw this thing down. I mean, I don't know. I think this is at least a 4. It's good. I mean, it's a little bit situational, but there's so much card generation and ways to discover cards and get cards that don't start in your deck in your hand that I think it's going to be really good. So I'll give it a 4.
Good. It's a good stat line for a card that does something else.
All right. So this is one of my favorite secrets I've seen in a while. I think it's kind of fun. This is Oasis Ally, a 3 mana frost spell. It's a secret. When a friendly minion is attacked, summon a 3/6 water elemental. So we haven't had a secret that attacks or for when somebody attacks when you're minions in a while. So Actually, I'm not sure if they ever had one like that. I know they've had one where if they die, they duplicate or things like that, but I'm not sure if they've ever actually had an attack.
Splitting image, I think is
Oh,
it. I
splitting
think that's
image.
the only one.
You're right. So anyway, but I think this card, you're getting a Water Rally for 3. It's pretty difficult to completely avoid trading, especially when you're facing a mage. Though they did lose some of their reach, but I think this card's pretty solid. I don't really even like secrets normally, but I think I'm gonna give it like I give it a 3.5.
Yeah,
It's
that sounds
okay.
perfect to me.
So next we have Rhyme Tongue. It's a 3-mana 3/4 minion. After you cast a frost spell, summon a 1/1 elemental that freezes. The 1/1 is annoying if you think about Hailbringer, but yet there's obviously a condition with this card. But you're getting a 3/4 stat line. I think it's just an easy 3.5, just because there's a little bit of upside. But I'm not sure if I'd even really want to. It's going to be pretty hard to pull off. I almost rated this at 3, but it does have a tiny upside. But it's going to be pretty difficult because it's not
reminds
just.
me of that 2/3 hunter minion we were talking about that summons that 1/1 rush hyena.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's just a fine card and it'll work. When it works, it's great, but it's not going to be, even when it works, you're getting a small advantage, not a huge one.
Yeah. Okay, so here we got Reckless Apprentice, a 4-mana 3/5 minion, battle cry, fire your hero power at all enemies. I couldn't believe when I saw this card. So if you get Wildfire, this card is going to be even more broken. Yeah, this card's really good. This does 7 damage potentially, and it hits face. So I guess I have to at least rate this a. I don't think it's a 5, but it's really, really good. I mean, I guess I'll give it a 4.5. It's solid.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I like 4. It's a card that you're going to take every time you see it. It's a 4-mana Rast Frost Whisper for the most part.
Yeah.
That's pretty much how it plays out. It's pretty good.
Yeah, and if you somehow have things like Fallen Hero in the meta in the core set, you get double damage. So just remember, chat, there's synergies. All right. So next we have Refreshing Springwater. I saw this card in the review. This card's really funny. 4 mana spell, draw 2 cards, refresh 2 mana crystals for each spell drawn. I mean, in arena purposes, this card's not that good. I mean, even if you got a 2 for 2 cards for 2 mana, it's not necessarily that great with all things that are out there at the moment. I'd guess I'd give this card like a 1.5. I don't think you're going to have enough spells to trigger this stuff. I mean, there's obviously going to be situations where you hit it and it's amazing, but like you're not going to want to draft it. And, I don't know. I guess the 1.5 is about as far as I'm willing to go.
Even like if you have a deck where you're almost guaranteed to get 1 spell, that's still about what we're expecting from our draw 2s now that cost 2 mana. So not too exciting.
Yeah, not too exciting for sure. Varden Dawngrass. 4 mana 3/3 legendary mage minion. Battle cry, freeze all enemy minions, and if any are already frozen, deal 4 damage to them instead.
Oh my god.
This card is gonna piss you off, chat. I'm gonna have to bleep that. But anyway, yes. Yeah, this card is gonna make you so upset because this is basically a 3/3 body and a Frost Nova, and on top of that, there's a decent amount of freeze out there that you're gonna end up taking just because it's out there and there's a lot of freeze. And I don't know. I guess this card's at least. I don't know if it's a 5 to be honest, but it's really good. I guess I'm gonna give it a 4. I don't know if you think it's higher, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a 4.5. Yeah. It's really powerful. It does too many things.
Yeah. And then, like I said, the reason it's a 4 is definitely because the effect on its own without the extra 4 damage is still really solid and can still win you a game. All right, so last we have Mordresh Fire Eye, a 10 mana 10/10 mage minion, battle cry. If you've dealt 10 damage with your hero power this game, deal 10 damage to all enemies. It's pretty conditional and it's really expensive. And frankly, by this point in the game, I'm not sure how much with the boards I'm seeing on 10 that this is even going to do that much. I guess I'll give this like I don't know. I feel like if I give it a 2, I'm being generous, but I don't know. Maybe 1.5.
This is a synergy card. If you have Reckless Apprentice and Wildfire in your deck, maybe you can make it, and Fallen Apprentice too. Like at that point, maybe you can make Mordresh Fire Eye work, but that's your best case scenario, and it means that you're gonna have to spend the whole first half of the game being behind on tempo just so you can have one big play on 10. And if that's not enough, you're in trouble because Yeah. So I think in its best case scenario, it's like it might get up to a 3.5, but in most situations,
Yeah. Not that
All
good.
right. Moving on to Paladin. We're just going to keep cranking things out here. We've got Conviction as our first card. It's a 1-mana holy spell with give a random friendly minion +3 attack, and it's the upgrade card. It upgrades to give 2 random friendly minions +3 attack and give 3 random friendly minions +3 attack. I think I would like it more if it was +6 and +9 because it lets you kill people out of nowhere. But even at its stat as it currently is, it's basically super Blessing of Might. Blessing of Might is a card I like, but is not fantastic. I think Blessing of Might's in the 2-star range. I think Conviction goes up to a. I would even go up to a 3 with this card because on 5, if you are able to do two minions, which we had a lot of spread with Paladin right now, I think that's enough to make it worth it.
Yeah, if you have 2 minions on board, you can play it, and you can drop a 4-drop afterwards. You would I want obviously the buffs on the. And the other thing is, I feel like this card. I wanted to say it was at least a 3 because I thought you were going to rate it like a 2, but mostly because I think this is like a Paladin's Bloodlust at the late game.
Yeah.
It can really be if you have a way to just get through the damage. I mean, it's 9 damage.
You know what? It's probably a 3.5 because that's going to be rare that works. Like you never really want Bloodlust in your deck, but sometimes it works. So I think maybe just that flexibility of going off with Bloodlust makes it a 3.5.
Yeah, I think this one might surprise people a little bit. I think it's going to be decent. So we'll see. All right, go ahead. Next one.
Galloping Savior is a 1-mana secret. After your opponent plays 3 cards in a turn, summon a 3/4 steed with taunt. I do not like this card. I do not think it is good, and I think it is one of the worst secrets for Arena that we've seen. It can trigger occasionally, but it's going to be a lot of times you just sit there and your opponent just plays 2 spells a turn for a long time. It's really hard to play 3 unless you're getting bananas or coins or something. So I give this a 0.5. I don't want it, but I mean there might be a situation where I just want a secret.
Yeah. Okay.
Knight of Anointment is a 1-mana 1/1 battle cry, draw a holy spell. I think this is a 3. Depends on the deck. If you have holy spells, it is a 4. If you do not have holy spells, it is a 0. So very dependent on what is in your deck. But I think it is safe to take this card early and assume you're going to get a holy spell because I mean there's 2 holy spells in this set, and there's just plenty of holy spells overall.
I think it's going to be a 4 a lot of times. I think you're going to
It's almost always a 4. It's almost always a 4.
Yeah,
I'd be happy with this card. Yeah. I would take this card early in the draft without having a holy spell because of how good it is.
Yeah.
We've seen this affected just a number of times, and the 1-mana 1/1 that draws a card, and it's always been good. Mystery Winner, etc. They've all been good.
Yeah.
Next card, we have a 2-mana 1/3 Soldier's Caravan. At the start of your turn, summon 2 1/1 Silverhand Recruits. It's another card very much like the one we saw in Hunter, where it's just going to be too hard to trigger. However, this one's a little better because if you get it off on turn 1, if you coin this off, that is a actual huge advantage. I still don't think that's going to be a great thing. It's just going to be too rare for it to work. It never does anything in the middle game or the late game, so I would give this a 1.5.
Yeah, it's like a worse Trick Totem. You'd rather coin Trick Totem.
Well, you know how I feel about Trick Totem. All right, now we've got Sword of the Fallen. It's a 2-mana 1/3 weapon. After your hero attacks, cast a secret from your deck. Well, this card is absolutely busted if you have secrets. It is completely ridiculous and will be very annoying to play against. If you played with Rinling's Rifle in Hunter, you understand how powerful just the generic effect of this can be. And this card is a 2-mana 1/3 that casts a secret every turn without spending a card on that secret. So this is you have to have secrets. So in a deck that has 4 secrets, I think this is a 4.5, actually. I think it is that good. In a deck that does not have secrets or only has 1 secret, I think it is a 2.5. And in a deck with like 2 to 3 secrets, it's probably a 3.
Yeah, I think in general, I'd give this closer to the... I don't think you want to draft secrets, though. Maybe it's going to end up being so good.
The only thing I would say is there's quite a bit of secret synergy. Not a ton, but there's enough that I think maybe you would be okay drafting it. And the core set secrets are a lot better than they have been in the past.
I guess the other question is if it only gets... I guess if it only ends up doing 2 secrets with its triggers, it probably still makes it pretty good.
I would be very happy with that. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm not sure. We'll see with this one. This one's interesting.
Yeah, this is a scaling one. I think with 5 secrets, it's a 4.5. With 4 secrets, it's a 4. With 3 secrets, it's a 3, and just kind of goes down, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Northwatch Commander is a 3-mana 3/4 battle cry. If you control a secret, draw a minion. Well, very much like the other cards we talked about that are that are dependent on a trigger but have generic vanilla stats. I think this is a slightly above what it would normally be costed at. So it's probably a 3.5. But if you have a ton of secrets in your deck that are hard to trigger, it's going to go up again to a 4. And even if you are able to play this on turn 4 alongside a secret, it's okay. It's not insane, but then it's okay. So, yeah. Cariel Roaim. This is our first legendary. I have no idea if I'm saying that right. It's a 4-mana 4/3 Rush Divine Shield. So already fantastic. Whenever this attacks, reduce the cost of holy spells in your hand by 1. I think this is a 4. It just a 4-mana 4/3 Rush Divine Shield is really what you're looking at here. Yeah. And that's a 4 in my book. It's like a fishy flyer that stays on the board instead of having to spend 4 extra mana. Pretty happy with this card if I see it.
Yeah, for sure.
If you're in the gravy is if you get able to get that holy spell reduction. And then we have 4 mana for Invigorating Sermon. That's a give +1/+1 to all minions in your hand, deck, and battlefield. It's a holy spell. 4 mana holy spell that gives +1/+1 to all minions in your hand, deck, and battlefield. This card is a lot better than the Druid version that we saw because it affects the cards that are not on the board. This
so that other one did too. The Druid one does too. It affects everything.
The cards in your hand, deck, and battlefield?
Are you talking about the 10 mana one?
No. The Pride, the one we just talked about, the Pride.
Sorry.
I see what you're saying. No, yeah. So we saw how good it is on what you're talking about, the +4/+4. Is that Survival of the Fittest?
Yes, you got it. You got it. Survival of the Fittest.
So this is mini Survival of the Fittest, right? And it's certainly not as powerful as Survival of the Fittest, but it's a pretty good effect. I think I would start this card at a... I would start this card at a 3.5 because I think on average you're going to want to play this card, but I'm going to have to play with it myself before I'm able to give it an accurate rating.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't have as big of a buff for how much mana you're spending, but that also means that it's much easier to play.
Yeah.
And the fact that, there's a lot of ability with, I think the meta is going to be fairly similar in some respects with the same sets, and you're going to be able to see, you're going to have time to play this. So I think it'll be pretty good. I definitely agree with starting at 3.5, and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah. Then we got Veteran War Medic, which is a 4-mana 3/5, already fine stats, not great, but okay. After you cast a holy spell, summon a 2/2 medic with lifesteal. Again, this is going to depend on the density of your holy spells. If you have a bunch of them, it's going to be great. If you don't, it's not. It's just that simple. We're running into that situation a lot with these Paladin cards, where if you have enough of the thing that triggers it, it's great. If not, then it's not great.
Yeah.
So I would probably give Veteran War Medic a 2.5 in the average deck, and it's the same as Violet Teacher in most situations. It's a 2.5, but in the occasional situation, it is a 3.5 if you are loaded up with holy spells and you have like Knight of Anointment and other things like that.
Also remember, chat, that these kind of cards that have these effects like this, like 4 mana is really expensive to combo on to get it down and have it live and play it. So I think the 2.5 is a pretty fair rating. Yeah.
All right, and then finally we have a cool legendary that is not very good in Arena, and it's Cannon Master Smite, which is a 5-mana 4/4. I think it's one of the coolest cards I've ever seen. 5-mana 4/4.
Yeah.
Battle Cry. Transform your secrets into 3/3 soldiers. They transform back when they die. That's just a cool card. It's such a fun idea. You have to have one in play. You have to have a secret for this to be even playable, and then it's fine. I mean, then it's a 5-mana 7/7. That's really not as good as all that. It's more like a 5-mana. It's very similar to Silverhand Knight at that point.
Yeah.
Is that the 5-mana 4/4 and a 2/2?
Yeah.
So that's your pretty much best case scenario in Arena. If you can combine it with Sword of the Fallen and get 3 secrets in play and then Smite, and then you did it. But that is such a dream scenario. It's just impossible to achieve.
The problem is the only way this card actually really causes havoc is you have to have at least 2 of them, 2 secrets, because once you kill the 1/3/3 that's on the board first, that secret comes back onto the board. Then you have to play that secret with the 3/3 and then play against the secret again. So unless you have, in my opinion, it's not annoying. It's good stats if you have 1 secret, but it's not annoying where it actually affects gameplay a lot unless you get 2. Once you get 2, it can start to get a little bit difficult to play around it because you're playing around the secrets twice in a sense. So, but it's going to be so hard to. I just have trouble imagining. There's no secret. There's nothing that discovers secrets. I was hoping there was going to be one, but I just don't know how easy it's going to be able to get secrets into your hand and in your deck to get to play all the secret synergy. We'll see.
Yeah, there's a lot of secret synergy and not a lot of ways to make it happen is what it seems to be. It really is Sword of the Fallen or bust. I don't see how you're going to get there without Sword of the Fallen in your deck. So
do you just make this is this like a 2.5? I
think this is a 1.5. I wouldn't even want.
Okay, I'm definitely okay with that rating. Yeah. I was just not sure. All right, that does it for Paladin. Moving on to Priest. All right, moving right along. Oh man, this is a doozy of a card right here. We got Desperate Prayer, 0 mana holy spell, the best priest spell ever. It's restore 5 health to each hero. So you're being kind, and you get. Yeah, this card literally is like, you can't even get anything for like spell burst fodder for this thing. This thing is, I think this is a 0.
I don't want this card in my deck.
I want to make it a 0. I'm making this a 0, so I don't have to touch any buttons. Okay, moving on. Condemn. We have a 2 mana holy spell, Condemn. It's one of our ranked spells. It deals 1 damage to all enemy minions. And then when it upgrades to 5, it goes to 2 damage to all enemy minions, and then 3 at 10. This card is... I think I'm going to give it a 4.5. I don't know if it's maybe it is a 5, but it's really strong.
4.5. Yeah, 4.5 sounds good to me. It's so good.
I don't think it's a game buster, but like the fact that I was actually surprised that this card, to be balanced, needed to deal damage to the whole board, not just the enemy minions. And the fact that it upgrades like this, I'm kind of surprised they didn't go that route, but it is what it is. It's very strong. And it's so cheap, like late game. You can throw out a Proto Drake and like do 3 damage to their board. I mean, it could be, the swings could just be crazy. So it's very, very good. You'll be taking this pretty much every time you see it. So next we have, this card's really interesting. This is Serena Bloodfeather, a 2 mana 1/1, but its battle cry is choose an enemy minion and steal its attack and health from it until this has no more, or till it has more. So if you played it against, I guess, a 5/5, actually, it would become a 4/4, right? And then the other thing would become a 1/1.
That 3/3.
3/3. Wait, 3/3. Yeah. Oh wait, would it? Because what happens when it's the same? It works.
So if this is a 1/1, it just keeps stealing 1/1 stats. So let's just do a 3/3 because that's a simpler one to do. So it steals 1 stat, then both are a 2/2, then it steals another stat, and now it's a 3/3, and the other one's a 1/1.
Right. Yeah.
So in a 4/4, it would go 2/2 versus 3/3.
One thing I wasn't sure about is it when both stats are above or just one of them? You know what I mean?
That is a good question. I don't know the answer to that.
I think it's just one, but I'm not.
Maybe it's total. Maybe it's total stats. I'm not sure. That's a great question. I have no idea.
Yeah, this is, unfortunately, I apologize, chap. I mean, this card's really good. I mean, regardless of, mechanics and math aside, this card's actually crazy because you can take like an 8/8 and then just like shrink it and you get this huge card for 2 mana. I mean, it kind of reminds me of, it's not the same, but it kind of reminds me of Braggart because it's a small 2 mana card that has a massive buff, and unlike, it might not get as big as the Braggart, but it also shrinks another card. So, I guess it's a little. It's hard. I guess this card's a little situational, so I don't know if I can give this a 5, but I'll give it a 4.5.
Yeah, I think it's a 4. 4.5. Like if you play it against an 8/8, their 8/8 gets -4/-4, and you got a 2 mana 5/5. That's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, it's pretty good. All right, moving on. We have Soothsayer's Caravan, a 2 mana 1/3. At the start of your turn, copy a spell from your opponent's deck to your hand. It's the fact that these are all at start of turn. They're all kind of bad. I mean, if you coin it out again, maybe you get 1, but there's so much rush and everything that these just die immediately. So it's hard to imagine these actually being good. I guess I'll give it a 1.5. I don't know. These cards aren't that good.
I just hate these cards. I don't think they're very
Kellen's not even. He's just like, yeah, these cards suck. All right.
I just don't like this.
Yeah. Sorry. Next we have a Devouring Plague, a 3 mana shadow spell. Lifesteal. Deal 4 damage randomly split among all enemies. I mean, it's kind of like there was a 3 mana that dealt 5 randomly for Mage, and that was okay. That was pretty good, actually. But this is only 4. The life steal is fine, but it's not game breaking. The fact that it loses the damage kind of kills it for me. I guess I give this like a. I guess I'll give it a 3. I don't know. Oh, I just realized Kellen is gone. I didn't even see it. Okay, but yeah, I'll give this like a 3, something like that. All right, moving on. We got Void Flare, 4 mana, 3/4. Minion battle cry for each spell in your hand, deal 1 damage to an enemy minion. This card's gonna make you so upset. It's pretty good. I mean, you have to have spells in your hand though, but when you have them, the stat line's not that good though without it though. So I guess it's hard to say. Yeah, if you have a really heavy spell deck, this card could be a lot better, but I guess I'd just give this like a 2.5, something like that. I don't think it's like insanely broken. If you have like, because it deals, it's not like if it dealt like direct damage to an actual minion instead of randomly to one to different ones, it might be a little bit better. But a lot of times this might not do that much, so I don't think it's particularly amazing. Xrella, 4 mana. I don't know if I'm saying that right. 4 mana, 4/4 legendary priest minion. Oh, wait.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. What do you think about this? I'm actually going to just go back real fast. I said like Devouring Plague's not that good. I said 2.5.
Yeah. Oh, I would rate it higher than that, I think.
Yeah.
It's situational, but my God, is it good in the right situation?
Yeah. And then Void Flare, like its stats are not great, but it's
it's still good. Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I'm not sure how good this card is because you have to have enough spells in your hand. I gave this like a 3.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I would think.
And then now we're okay. Let me go back to this. Now we're on Xrella. I don't know if I said that right. I already explained this card. So this card is 4 mana, 4/4 battle cry. If you've restored health this turn, deal that much damage to all enemy minions. So in a situation where you don't have anything to heal yourself, you'll heal your face. When it says restore, does that mean it actually has to heal, or does it mean you just have to? If you healed your face,
you have to actually heal.
That's what I thought, because it says restored. So yeah, at worst you have to spend 6 mana, deal 2 damage. I mean, there's some cards that I actually don't think this is that great in Arena because it is a board clear, but it's expensive.
Well, if you just think of it as a 6 mana 4/4, deal 2 to all enemy minions, how do you feel about that card? Because that's 90% of the time what it'll be in Arena.
Yeah. I mean, it's fine. In this day and age, though, it's not like, I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's earth shattering. I mean, it's fine. I guess it's probably at least like having a board clear is good. So I guess I'll give it like a 3.5 or something.
Wow. Yeah, I would go way higher on that. I think this card is incredible. It's like Blizzard, or not Blizzard. I don't know. It's like a one-sided Primordial Drake that costs 2 less mana. Doesn't give you the taunt, but I think this card's fantastic. I'd be happy to take it.
Yeah. I think it's.
I think it's funny how we have more differing opinions in this set than we have in the past. I think.
Yeah, Abyssal Forcer-ish. Yeah, but I mean, you don't have to do anything with that either. I'd much rather have Abyssal, but yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. If
it
there's
is
a lot
pretty cool combo with Desperate Prayer.
Yeah, I mean, if there was a lot of, I don't know if there's still Renew. I guess Renew's still in the meta. I don't know. All right, so next we have Priest of Anish. Anish, I don't know how you say that. 5 mana, 5/5 taunt battle cry. If you've restored health this turn, gain +3/+3. So I mean, for 7 mana, basically at worst you can get a 5 mana 8/8. That's pretty damn good.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. Yeah, it's like a 5 mana 5/5 or a 7 mana 8/8.
Yeah. And a 5 mana 5/5 even is not bad. This is a nice card because the stat line, even a taunt is different than a regular stat line card, and like honestly just playing it can sometimes be good enough if you need to like tempo out another card with it. So yeah, I think I got to give this, I guess I'll give it I think the upside's enough. I'll give it like a 4.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That sounds good to me.
Light Shower Elemental. This one's really interesting to think about. At first I thought this was broken, but then I thought about this a little more. So 6 mana 6/6 Elemental. It's a taunt minion. Death Rattle restore 8 health to all friendly characters. So this one's kind of interesting because I think it's not gonna. I think it'll restore health to your face probably, and that's really good. In terms of it, like actually being able to die, so you can like actually like make value trades and then heal them is probably a lot not going to happen as much. But it's
tough to pull off.
But like, so that's like the dream combo, which is possible, but not. It's really hard with its health total and stuff to necessarily do that. But I mean, a 6/6 that restores 8 health to your face is not terrible. I guess I'd give this. It's weird because the effect's so high. I guess I'll give it a 3.5, but I might be a little high on it. I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. I think 8 health is enough though, that it just it makes it a decent card rather than a
Right. Yeah.
This last card's funny.
Power Word Fortitude. 8 mana holy spell. Give a minion +3/+5. Cost 1 less for each spell in your hand. I think this card's kind of garbage.
Yep, agreed.
Because here's the thing, chat. So here's the way I would explain this card. Imagine Blessing of Kings, which is about this. If this was a Blessing of Kings, it would cost 4 mana, right? So you need to have 4 spells in your hand to just get it into that ballpark. Now, the 5 health is really nice, honestly, for Priest. But like generally, at best, you might be casting this for like 6 mana, and it's just way too expensive. And you'd rather just play a minion or a rush card at that point. So I'd give this like a, I don't know, 1.5. Maybe it's only a 1. Maybe a 1's probably better.
It feels like a 1 to me. I don't like that card. I'm with you.
I don't like it either. I guess that's it for Priest. So
it's time to move on to Rogue. Are you ready?
Rogue.
This is one of our first octopuses in this class.
Oh, well.
Okay. We're going to start with Paralytic Poison, which is a 1 mana nature spell. Give your weapon +1 attack, and your hero is immune while attacking. I do not like this card at all. It is like bad Arcane Shot. Inconvenient Arcane Shot. There's 2 damage total. The immune thing's cool, but I'd give this a 2. It'll you put in your deck sometimes and get a small advantage, but it might even be a 1.5. It's just not that good.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1.5, I'd say. Okay, Yoink is a 1 mana spell. Discover a hero power and set its cost to 0. Swap back after 2 uses.
Ooh.
This is, I think, good enough to be okay. I don't think it's great. But that first one costing 0 and the second one costing... Well, the first one technically costs 1 because the Yoink itself costs 1. So you're spending 1 mana for 2 hero power activations.
So you could hero power beforehand to get your dagger out.
So,
then... Yeah, I'm just thinking about it. Yeah.
You could even have more ways to spend your mana. So with Yoink, you could really get advantage if your hero power that you're selecting is something that has board presence. So the problem is the best ones are Rogue, Paladin, and Warlock, I think, for this effect. And
Mage is
you already
pretty good
have
too,
access
though.
to one of those.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Which Mage? Yeah, Mage is fine too, but I wouldn't. Yeah, Mage is okay, but it doesn't really make me want to play Yoink. I think I would have to get 2 1/1s or 2 cards out of this for it to really be happy with it. Even with that being said, you're still pretty likely to hit one of those 2 things. So I'd say this is like a 2.5. It's still not something I'm really excited to put in my deck, but there are good use cases.
I like this slightly more than you. I was going to rate this a 3. Only meaning is I kind of think of this. It's not the same, but I think of it kind of like Tour Guide because you're banking value for future turns, and it is true that a lot of the hero powers you don't really want, but because you're discovering, you're most likely going to get one that's you're going to get. It's kind of like if you think about Finley, like you're a lot of times going to get one that you kind of want. So even like honestly, even the Hunter hero power could be insane in the right situation. I like this card, and I think it's fun, but I can agree with you that it might not be a 3, but I kind of like it.
Yeah, it's a fun card. I'm looking forward to playing with it for sure, and I cannot wait to hit Warlock hero power with this. That's really exciting. Efficient Octobot is a 2 mana 1/4 mech, our first octopus that I can think of. Frenzy, reduce the cost of cards in your hand by 1. I think this card is fantastic. A 2 mana 1/4 is not the worst stat line. That's exactly what your stats should be at that. It's a total of 5 stats, which is our vanilla stat point. I think this card's awesome though. Like if you can trigger the Frenzy, you are very, very happy about that. It's a really good card to trigger Frenzy with. So I'd probably give this a 3.5. I think it's slightly above average, not too much above average. But man, if you can trigger that Frenzy early, you're going to be very happy.
What I love about this card is that it's an early Frenzy that has 4 health. Makes it the 4th health is really important in this card. It makes it really awkward early, and it basically is like getting a wild growth down.
Yeah,
Like,
this might be a 4 actually. It just if you play this on 2, you are almost never going to have you're almost always going to trigger the frenzy,
yeah,
and that
it's gonna
is
trigger like,
nuts.
yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe it is a 4, but it's really good.
In the late game, it doesn't do anything is the
Right.
problem. So yeah, I'm
I
gonna
think
stick with
three
three
and a
and a
half is
half.
fine. No, I like your rating. I'm
Gosh,
just saying I like it.
it's tough. It's a tough call. If you get this down on 2, you might just win the game. So I think that might be enough to bump it to 4 for me.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Silverleaf Poison is a 2-mana nature spell. Give your weapon after your hero attacks, draw a card. That I think is a lot better than Paralytic Poison, but still not incredible. It's a 2-mana draw 2 is really what this card says, but
Yeah.
it's an awkward setup because it kind of encourages you to use your mana. Because Rogue Hero Power, I think of it as 1 mana per charge. If you don't have a good onboard way to use your hero power to deal 1 damage, and you just have to attack face, then Silverleaf Poison basically goes up to the cost of Arcane Intellect. So I don't love it as much as any other 2-mana draw 2s, but I still think I'd probably give this a 3, just a normal 2.5, 2.5 for Silverleaf Poison.
I think it's fair because truthfully, the thing is a lot of times with Rogue, like you want to be saving your hero powers, and this kind of incentivizes you to maybe you need to use it, but then you're wasting the mana when you might not even need the ping. So I think 2.5 is fair.
Yeah. Then we got Wicked Stab, which is a 2-mana spell. Deal 2 damage, and Wicked Stab is a ranked card for Rogue.
Yep.
So at 5 mana, it's 2 mana to deal 4 damage.
Yep.
And at 10 mana, it's 2 mana to deal 6 damage. So this card's absolutely busted. It's Eviscerate with no requirements on 5 mana, and it is Fireball to the face. And this does go face, by the way.
Holy shit, you're right, it goes face. Oh, I didn't even know.
I think this is a 4.5. I think this is probably one of the best Rogue spells we've seen in a long time. It's nuts. I don't think it's a 6 or a 5, but I do think it is a 4.5. I think it's strong enough that I don't see myself taking any other commons over Wicked Stab.
I think they did this so they could get rid of Eviscerate, but like if you think about it, early on, like you might use an Eviscerate for 2 damage just to do it, which is what this does. Then later in the mid game, when you want to use it for removal, it's 4, which is what you want. And then by the time you want to go face and kill someone, it's 6. I mean, it is. You're right. I think this card's. I think it's really good. It's definitely. I think it's better than Avis in a way.
I think it's significantly better than Avis because on the turn that you usually can cast Avis, like on turn 5, is typically turn 5.
Yeah.
And you don't have to have a 3-drop to make that work.
You don't have to combo it.
Yeah, you could just go Hero Power, Wicked Stab, or something like that.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
Yeah, it also can trigger other combos because it is a cheap spell, so it has that advantage too. Yeah, I really like Wicked Stab. Okay, Field Contact is a 3-mana 3/2. After you play a Battle Cry or combo card, draw a card. So very much like our other cards, except this is not a stat, or very much like the other cards in other classes that trigger when you do something. We've seen a couple of those, but this one is a 3-mana 3/2 instead of a good statted minion. So I actually think this card is not as good as the other cards we've seen. Battle Cry minions and combo cards are things you'll have in your deck, but it's not the only things you'll have in your deck, and it's going to be hard to line everything up to make this work. So I think this is slightly below average. I think this is a 2.5, just because you're going to have to wait to make it work.
Yeah. There are AUG merchants still, so there are some ways to...
And that would be great. If you can pull that combo off, it's I think you're almost even on stats, but even then you're still slightly behind.
Yeah, I think it's fair. 2.5.
Swine Tusk Shank is next. It's a 3-mana 2/2 weapon. After you play a poison, gain +1 durability. This card is a synergy-based card. It is really good if you have Silverleaf Poison and Paralytic Poison in your deck. But other than that, and those cards aren't cards I really want, and Swine Tusk isn't a card I really want without those 2 cards. So when all 3 of the cards you don't want on their own work together, that is not a great combo.
Not in Arena. Not in Arena.
So I'm pretty anti Swine Tusk Shank. I think I'd give that as a 3-mana 2/2 weapon. It's still something you'd put in your deck, but I'd say it's probably a 1.5, and maybe in the right deck, it goes up to a 2,
okay,
2.5. Apothecary Hellbrim is a 4-mana 3/2, Battle Cry and Death Rattle, and a Random Poison to your hand. I think this card's actually pretty good. It's not great. It's not nearly as good as the last version of this card we saw, which was Zeril. Exactly, but which gave a random his own versions of poisons. Now that we have poisons, I believe they're Deadly Poison, Paralytic Poison, and Silverleaf Poison.
Yeah.
I still think it's fine, but not great because you're not really getting a full card. Like we've talked about, those 3 poisons are cards you really don't love putting in your deck. But because you get them for free and because you get 2 of them, I still think Apothecary Hillbrim is a above average card, putting it at a 3.5.
Yeah, 3.5 seems comfort zone there. Yeah.
Next we have a
Oh
this
God,
is definitely not an average card. Oil Rig Ambusher, which is a 4-mana 4/4 battle cry, deal 2 damage. If this injured your hand this turn, deal 4 damage instead. So this is a 4, just straight up 4. It's gonna be it's to anything you can hit face, and it's a 4.5.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's silly.
Why does this hit face? That should not hit face.
I don't know.
This is gonna be so annoying to get top decked against.
You just take it every time. This is a card that is very reminiscent of something called Flame Tongue Kavu, which was like widely considered one of the greatest magic minions of all time or creatures of all time. And it just is so good. It just does too much stuff for itself.
Yeah, and I only don't. Oh, there's another card. I'm sorry. I thought that was the last one.
No, finish up. Yeah.
I was gonna say the only reason I don't have an issue with this card as much is because they really got nothing other than this. So, but it's still really strong. Yeah,
I mean they're real. They only have 2 cards that were above a 3 besides the that are common or uncommon or rare. Besides the.
Can I just announce this card?
Go for it.
All right, Scab's Cutter Butter. Go ahead.
It's a 4-mana 3/3. This is another legendary minion. 4-mana 3/3 combo. The next 2 cards you play this turn cost 3 less. This card's awesome. It's so good. You do have to set it up. The setup cost is somewhat high, but if you have a 2-mana minion and a Scabs, then you're going to be going, well, I don't know. It might not be as awesome as I initially thought in Arena. In Constructed, this card's insane, and I'm very nervous for the Constructed world because of its existence. You don't usually get a 3/3 that adds 2 mana to your mana pool. To your.
Can I just say that if you're watching this on audio, go watch the YouTube. The art on this card is hilarious as hell. I can't.
It's really funny. So what are we going to give this for a rating? Because I'm thinking of the scenarios where it's good, and the typical scenario where it's going to be good is on turn 6 you go 2-drop Scabs, drop 2 like a 2-drop and a 3-drop. That is actually amazing. Never mind.
So
that's absolutely insane.
The only time this card gets slightly worse is if your deck's actually heavier because you got to be able to get all the cards out on the same turn. But if you're mid-range to aggressive at all, this card's absolutely busted. So
you know what? Now that I think about it, even if you only get 1 card off of this, it's still fantastic. It means it's a 1-mana 3/3.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean,
it's got to be a 4. I don't. Yeah. I think it's just a straight up 4. I think it's not as good as Oil Rig Ambusher. I don't think, but
no,
man, it is good.
Scab's Cutter Butter, baby. Gotta have. It's the best. It's one of my favorite Hearthstone names, I think, actually ever. And that's saying something because I love art and card and names and stuff. So, all right, moving on now to what are we on now?
Shaman.
All right, we're moving through this pretty good. Okay. Next we have. Oops, hit the wrong button. Oops, hold on, shut. Having a little bit of issue. There we go. Okay. Spawn Pool Forager. Lots of Murlocs. 1 mana 1/2 Murloc. Death Rattle. Summon a 1/1 Tiny Fin. Yeah, I mean it's kind of like a. It kind of thinks me upon a creeper doesn't get an extra 1/1, but it comes down earlier. So I think this card's pretty darn good.
It seems nuts to me. Yeah.
I know it's a 1-mana card. Is it crazy for me to want to give this like? And you don't have to play it like. If you think of it like Firefly. You lose a stat point, but you don't have to spend the mana after. So, like, is this a 4.5? Because I feel like it is.
I think it's a 4, but yeah, it could be a 4.5. I don't see myself taking other cards over it now that I think about it. So yeah, it's probably a 4.5.
I know it seems nutty to give. It's hard to give a 1-mana card a 4.5, but I don't know. I just feel like this card is actually that good. We'll see.
I think that's a fair grade for a 1-mana 2/3. Yes.
Oh god. All right. And now we have this card, Earth Revenant. 4 mana 2/6 elemental stat line. Taunt, battlecry, deal 1 damage to all enemy minions. Yeah, this card's really good. It has taunt, it has a lot of health. Normally 4 mana 2/6 taunts are not like great, but because of the battlecry, it makes it actually it'll remove stuff from the board, and then it's got 6 health. So yeah, this thing's I don't know if I can give this a 5, but I'm gonna give it a 4. Or 4.5.
Yeah, I think it is going to have a large effect on the meta.
Yeah,
It's a
it's
good card.
really, and the elemental stat line, as you'll see, is it might actually be matter. We'll see. Next we have Lily Pad Lurker, 5 mana, 4/5 elemental. Oh, I forgot about this card. Sorry. Battle cry: if you played an elemental last turn, transform an enemy minion into a 0/1 frog with taunt. So this is basically if you have elemental synergy, which honestly in Shaman, I think it is consistent enough that you're gonna have it often enough where I don't have to really knock this card down a ton because of the synergy aspect. It just you get a hex for 1 more mana and you get to develop a 4/5 body. I don't think I can give this a 5 because of the fact that it's got the synergy aspect, but I'm gonna definitely give this a 4.
Yeah, this card's not going to be something every time my opponent plays an elemental, I'm going to be terrified of the following turn.
Yeah.
The one downside, the best part of Hex is you can hold it in your hand and wait for the right target. Lily Pad Lurker does suffer from that. You don't get to wait because you have to set it up the turn before. But, I mean, even with that being the case, I'd still happily just Lily Pad Lurker a 4/4, you know?
I was saying, like, even if you do it to a 2/3 or a 3/3, you're still being a 5 mana 4/5 that deals 3 damage. I mean, is that really that bad? No. Yeah. So and now again, there's a synergy aspect to it. So you do have to be careful about when you draft it and how you draft it, but I think it's very, very, very good. Next, we're going to go on to Tiny Finn's Caravan. This card is the cutest card ever created. 2 mana, 1/3 stat line. At the start of your turn, draw a Murloc. And I mean, it's not good, but it's just so cute. I guess I'll give it a 1.5. I don't know.
These caravans are just not where you want to be in Arena.
You know what really makes me upset, just to get onto the caravan train just slightly here for a second, is that they could have been really fun, honestly, in general, but they just were created in a way where in Arena, like, they either needed more health or some way to protect it or something, because they're just not going to go off. The meta's so reactive, so it's unfortunate because it's kind of like a swing on miss on all of them. They're all bad for exactly the same reason. We probably rated them almost the same for all of them.
I think so. Yeah.
I think we gave them all 1.5. All right, so next card, Arid Stormer. Oh man, 3 mana 2/5 elemental. Battle cry: if you played an elemental last turn, gain Rush and Wind Fury. So this is like a synergy version of like what is the freaking 2 mana 1/4 Rush?
Crab Rider? Oh,
yeah, it's
Crab
like
Rider.
Well, think of Crab Rider except a 2/5. It's like a Crab Rider with a buff, but all you have to do is play an elemental the turn before. And even if you a 3 mana 2/5, just playing as an elemental, the stat line we can say is fair. It's that in itself is a 3. And I think there's enough elementals. I don't think I'm going to go up to a 4 on this one, but I'll say it's a 3.5.
Yeah, I think so too.
All right. South Coast Chieftain, 2 mana 3/2 Murloc. Battlecry: if you control another Murloc, deal 2 damage. This card is going to be frustrating because the thing is you have to control a Murloc. So remember, it's not in hand. It has to be on the board, so that does matter. But you're getting a 3/2, so that in itself, that makes it a 3, and it's probably a 3.5 just because of the thing. But it's pretty darn good. It can go face. I don't know if there's going to be enough Murlocs on the board that this thing could be. I guess in some decks this could go up to like a 4. But
it's fantastic with Spawn Pool Forager. So if you're getting Foragers, Foragers is already a card you want to take. So you're probably taking Spawn Pool Foragers as much as you can get them. So South Coast Chieftain will go up in value if you have a bunch of Spawn Pool Foragers.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Good point. So yeah, I guess I'll give this a 3.5, maybe a 4. All right.
I think 3.5 is fine. Yeah.
Firemancer Flurgle. I texted Kellen with this came out. 2 mana 2/3 Murloc. I didn't realize it was legendary when I first looked at it. So it's a legendary minion, Murloc. After you play a Murloc, deal 1 damage to all enemy minions, or to all enemies. I'm sorry. So it can go face. Yeah, this card is just a good stat line, and if you somehow pull it off, which you most likely could, because I think you're going to be drafting some Murlocs. Murloc Shaman's going to be a thing, I think, in Arena. Not always, but it's definitely going to be there. Yeah, I guess I'll give it a 3.5. It's pretty good. I don't think it's
all
like
these synergy cards. I feel like that's been our standard grade for any of the cards that have normal stat line with an upside of some kind. It's pretty much just going to be a 3.5.
Yeah, and that's fine.
Like a situational upside. I mean,
which yeah. So the next card we have is Nothing Can Stop Us. 3 mana Shaman spell. Give your minions +1/+1. Give your Murlocs an extra +1/+1. Yeah, I mean, the thing is that think of this mostly as a 3-mana 1/1 buff. The extra 1/1 buff probably won't be super significant most of the time. I guess I'll give this like a 1.5, maybe a 2. I don't know. The buff it's just too expensive of a buff for it to be really solid in my opinion. So I'm gonna stick with the 1.5, I guess. Brucon, 4-mana 5/4 legendary shaman minion, nature spell damage +3. So stat line is normal, but its upside is pretty high. 3 spell damage. You could do this with Lightning Storm, which no longer is now a standard 3 damage, and it suddenly does 6 damage to the whole board. Yeah, I'm gonna give this one a 4, I think.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like the other cards where it's, again, a normal stat line with a slight upside, but the upside on this one is massive. If you manage to pull off just one turn, it's going to feel like you have a 4-mana Malagos in play. Yeah,
that's the thing. It's finally like a card like the upside of, not obviously as much as Malagos, but with the ability to combo it on the turn you play it at 4 mana, it makes it really high. And a lot of the shaman spells are very cheap to begin with, including this one.
Yeah, I was going to say, it works well with the next one, too.
Yeah, so Chain Lightning is our first rank spell for Shaman. It's 2 mana. It's a nature spell. Deal 2 damage to a minion and a random adjacent one. And upgrades when you have 5 mana, so then it goes to 3 damage and then 4 damage at 10 mana. So this is interesting, because so this will be one of those things where a lot of times you'll be trying to target this to the outside to basically force that the random is not random. So positioning around this will be a pain.
Annoying.
But yeah, now luckily it's an epic card. That's a saving grace here. But it's really strong. I mean, it's two to deal like either 4, 6, or 8 total damage potentially. So I gotta give this thing a I think I'm gonna give it a 4.5, but it might be a 4.
I'm comfortable with that. I think that
it's really strong.
It's a lot of damage. No overload on it is wild too. There's
you're right. No overload. That's crazy. All right, so now we're down to 2 more classes. Then we finally get to the arena section.
Yeah, the arena section. I like this. We should call it that every set.
It is the arena section. Neutral minions. That's where we are. Bread and butter.
Yeah, that's what. Really
great, Kellen! You get to start with another caravan. I'm just going to go ahead and give us a 1.5.
I think you changed your filter.
Oh, wait. What do you mean?
Because on Shaman, you weren't on low to high mana cost anymore. Something changed.
Oh, you're right. It did change. Sorry. Okay. I think I accidentally refreshed by accident. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so Altar of Fire is the first Warlock card. It is a 1-mana spell, a fire spell. Destroy the top 3 cards of each deck. 0! That is a 0.
0! I don't have to touch any buttons.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything. This is not a card you ever want to play in Arena. We've talked about how Fel Reaver and all these other cards that affect your deck, Keening Banshee, are not real downsides. This just doesn't affect things in Arena. I mean, the best case scenario is you're playing against a priest and you get 3 of their cards, then you realize, wait, I'm a Warlock, so I drew more cards and I have no cards left in my deck. I don't get it. I don't know who this is for. I don't understand it, and I never want to take it. Okay, Grimoire of Sacrifice is our next spell. It is a 1-mana shadow spell. Destroy a friendly minion. Deal 2 damage to all enemy minions. This is more interesting. This is probably a 2.5. No. This is probably a 3. I think that's fair. It's situational. It requires other things to happen to go right, but it is a powerful enough effect for 1 mana that I think I'd be happy to take it. There's going to be situations where you feel like you're casting Shadow Flame, and that's fine. But,
I just want to throw out one small card that we have to know is in the meta, which is Nerubian Egg, and there's a lot of cards, including the one lackey card that destroys it. I mean, there's a lot of cards that sacrifice is good, so you might actually be drafting sacrifice type of cards on purpose. So pretty interesting.
So maybe this goes up, but I think I think
3 is fine.
It may go up though with that information on. Okay, next we got an Caravan, 2 mana 1/3 it's Apothecary's Caravan. Sorry, 2 mana 1/3. The start of your turn, summon a 1-cast minion from your deck. Well, unfortunately, that's going to be a 1.5 or a 2 again. It's just such a low.
Good old 1.5.
Yeah, it's just too tough to make it work. Again, if you played on turn 1 off a coin, then it's great. If you played on turn 2, sometimes it's fine. But After that, it's just not going to do anything.
This one even requires you to have something in your deck that actually works. With
Yeah,
it
you
too.
know, honestly though, this one does kind of protect itself. So if you do get this one down early, it's probably better than the other ones because it does provide
Are
board
we gonna
presence.
actually give it a
So
2?
I think I want to give it a 2. Yeah, I think this one can actually do something compared to the
Okay.
others.
Okay. Fair enough.
All right, then we've got our ranked spell for Warlock, which is Imp Swarm. It's a 2 mana spell, summon a spell, excuse me, it's spell. Summon a 3/2 imp, and it upgrades to summon 2 imps and summon 3/2 imps.
Yeah.
So this card's fine. It's above average. I mean, it's generic first case on turn 2 play is good. It's that's a 3. I think this card is one of the few ranked spells where you'll actually be happy to play it on curve compared to the other ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm happy to play this on turn 2. If I don't have another play, I'll be happy with that.
You're pretty
But
much never gonna.
It is,
Yeah. Go ahead.
I think it's above that. Like on turn 5, it is a 6/4 for 2 mana. So I think it does end up going up to a 4.
Okay.
Because that is just a huge advantage. And the fact you can play it on turn 2 for normal value makes me really like this card. I think Imp Storm's a 4.
Yeah.
Next, we got Blood Shard Bristleback, which is a 3-mana 3/3. Lifesteal. Battle Cry. If your deck contains 10 or fewer cards, deal 6 damage to a minion. I actually love this card. I don't think it's the best Warlock card of all time, but a 3-mana 3/3 Lifesteal in Warlock is an okay card because of the lifesteal being equated to some number of cards. And the fact that you can draw it late and it's way better, like way better, I think is enough to make it a 3.5. I think it is not going to be bigger than that because a 3-mana 3/3 on curve is just so much below average, but I think it is a 3.5 total.
I think I'd actually give this a 4, and the only reason is, and I think stat wise you're right, but its upside late is so insane. With the fact that you can heal yourself and stuff, I think it's pretty good. But I could be wrong on this, but I think it's really good.
Yeah, if I get to cast it late, when I play it and it does its whole thing, it's probably a 4.5. But I think in the early game, it's closer to a 2.5. So I think that
you're right. It is an upside late, but the nice thing is you can tap knowing to get down to 10. So it's pretty interesting. It's a cool card.
Yep. Yeah, it's a really cool card. I like it a lot. Next, we've got one of my favorite cards that they made, Cabal Outfitter. A 3-mana 3/3 Battle Cry and Death Rattle. Give another random friendly minion +1/+1. I love this type of effect. It's just stats. Like it's a 3-mana 4/4 that is actually a 3-mana 5/5 sometimes.
Yeah.
But I just love how it works. In Warlock, it often does feel like where the stats are placed doesn't matter. It's just playing as many stats for as little mana as possible so you can use your hero power.
Yeah.
And I think this fits that bill perfectly. I really enjoy this card, and it works really well with Imp Swarm. It even makes Apothecary's Caravan better because you just need something to be in play.
I'm starting to I gotta say, I'm starting to really like eggs.
Yeah, exactly. This works with the Nerubian Egg too. So I think this is a 4. I think the
4 is good.
upside of this is just high enough that you're going to want to take it a lot in Warlock.
The only thing I want to mention about this card is how it's not like broken awkward, but it's really awkward to remove this in a way. If your opponent tries to like actually remove this to not get the death rattle off, it ends up being so much. They have to remove everything on the board and then remove that, and it's people will try to do that and probably lose the game because they don't just give up on. You know what I mean?
you probably get at least that +1/+1 stat back on how bad their trade
right.
was.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying. Yeah, you got. Yeah, exactly.
Next, we've got Tamsim Roam. I'm not sure. They've got some cool names in this set that I do not know how to pronounce. It is a 3-mana 1/3 legendary minion. Whenever you cast a shadow spell that costs 1 or more, add a copy to your hand that costs 0. In the right deck, this card's going to be 3 mana, draw a 0-mana spell, or draw a 0-mana version of the spell you cast. So it's probably good enough there because if you can play this alongside a 4-mana spell, like the one we're going to say next, it's probably good, but it's going to be hard to trigger. So I think it's probably a 3. It's you need to have the shadow spell, but you're going to have 1. So
it's pretty good with Siphon.
Yeah, it's great with Siphon Soul. Really is.
Because you get 2 on the same. You get 2 of them on the same turn.
Yeah, but then it's a 6.
No, I still think it's
it's still good. Yeah,
it has some. This is one of those again really hard cards to evaluate because its swing potential, if you have the right cards, is so insane. It can swing from like a 2.5 to a 4.5 in like a second. So
I think this card's its floor is at 1, so or a 0, or a 1 or a 0.5.
Yeah, right, exactly.
It's really bad stat line. So yeah, honestly, it's probably acceptable, but not great. I would not take this card unless I already had the shadow spells. Unlike the 1-mana 1/1 Paladin minion that draws you a holy spell, I think this card is way too much more synergy than that.
And the other thing is, you have to remember, this is always going to be up against legendaries, and I can almost guarantee you any legendary you see is going to be better than this one. So
yeah, so it's going to be tough. Okay, Soul Rend is our next card. It's a 4-mana shadow spell. Deal 5 damage to all minions. Destroy a card in your deck for each killed. Well, this card's good. Destroying cards in your deck is not so bad. Not so bad. I'd be happy to take this card if it because you can attack your minions into theirs first, so you're not going to have any of your own die really. If you did, if your minions were going to die, then you wouldn't want to cast Soul Rend anyways. So I think this card is a 4. I think it's going to be very good at clearing the board, and that's pretty much all it's for.
Yep.
Next we got Nero Fireblade, which is a 5-mana 5/5 legendary minion. Battle Cry: if your deck is empty, open a portal that fills your board with 3/2 imps each turn. This is actually not a Battle Cry that ever will trigger. It is a 5-mana 5/5, and in the games where it triggers, you may win, but unlikely. You'll probably die to your fatigue. So
you're probably gonna be dead.
Yeah, because you tapped so far down to get there that it's not gonna work. So I would give Nero Fireblade a 2 or a 2, a 2.5. A 5-mana 5/5 is probably 2.5.
Yeah.
And finally, we have a 6-mana 6/6 Barrens Scavenger. It has Taunt, and it costs 1 while your deck has 10 or fewer cards. So this reminds me of the Bloodshard Bristleback, obviously, where it is normally going to be on average, this is a 2.5 to a 3, and then in the right situation, it's going to be a 4.5. So I think that brings us up to a 4. Because, because even, So the thing is, the cost going down is not as important as doing 2 things. Where Bloodshard Bristleback does 2 things when you have 10 or cards left or less. This doesn't actually do 2 things. It just reduces mana, and that's not really what you're looking for when you're trying to play a grindy game. You're trying to do 2 things.
Yeah, by the time, and a lot of times by the time you're in Warlock, you're down 10 or fewer cards. You're literally like playing, you're tapping and maybe playing another card, and the mana reduction, you're right, 5 is a lot. You might let you drop, you're going to tap, you play a 1, you might be able, it might give you an advantage. It's still a very good card.
It's still a very good card. Yeah, I think I'd probably go 4 on this, but it may be a 3.5.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. All right, let's give you the last class here, Cal. Let's see what you got.
Okay, what do I got? Oh, Warrior. Okay. All right, we got this. Here we go. One of my favorite Frenzy cards, honestly. I just like the flavor of this card. All right, Warsong Envoy. 1 mana, 1/3. Frenzy gain +1 attack for each damaged character. I'm realizing that almost all the Frenzy has to be in the neutral pool, right? Because, we're not seeing a lot of Frenzies. This card's really fun. At a 1/3 stat line, you're happy to get a 1 that's with this stat line. And also, at 3 health on the first turn, you're probably going to be able to at least, gain 1 attack or so by just a trade. And if they trade into or you trade, you're going to get +2. So you're probably going to get +2 attack fairly a decent amount of time, and it'll upgrade to a 3/3 or a 3/2 basically after you trade. So, and there's a small situation where, you'll whirlwind or do something. I don't know what AoE effects there are, but if you damage all the minions, you might. And plus, if you just kind of play it late game, there might be 4 damaged minions on the board, and then it's a 1 mana 5/3. So it's I think it's a pretty good card. I think it's slightly better than average. So I think I'm just gonna give it I think I might give this a 4, but I'm probably stretching it a little bit. But I like this card a lot.
I think it's good. I don't think it's a 4, but I think
I told you, I'm admitting that I'm probably stretching it. But I think this card's gonna be better than we think.
Yeah.
I think it's good. Next we've got Bulk Up. I actually don't think I've seen this card. 2 mana, give a random taunt minion in your hand +1/+1 and copy it. Huh.
Wow.
Well, it copies it too. I thought it was just the buff, and I'm like, okay, this is trash. But you have to hold it. But man, when you see your opponent play this card, you're gonna be pretty scared.
Yes.
You can play the other taunts you want first if you have small ones. You can control it. This is tough to evaluate. It's really strong to copy taunts, and I think this is actually easier to pull off much easier to pull off than the Druid version because it's actually in your hand. You don't have to play it first.
Right.
I think I gotta give this card like, I don't know. I almost want to give this a 3. I was gonna say 3.5, but it might be higher. It might be a 4. What do you think?
No, I don't think it can be quite that high because it's really is 2 mana draw 1 card, and it's +2/+2 total stats.
It's pretty conditional
Like
too.
a 2 mana, yeah, 2 mana 2/2 that draws you a card, which is kind of what this does.
Yeah.
Is probably a 3. So, no, that's probably a 3.5.
I gave it a 3.5. The more I think about
yeah.
it, it's this one. This is one I need a little help on because this one has a lot of. It's a lot of.
Yeah,
it is very
a lot of
conditional.
pieces to it.
There's a lot. I'm noticing a trend where there's a lot of the conditional cards have really insane upsides, but they're just barely good enough that you can take them otherwise. So it's interesting. All right.
Speaking of conditions,
Conditioning. So we got a 2 mana spell called Conditioning. It's a rank spell for Warrior. It gives minions in your hand +1/+1, and then it goes to 2/2 at 5 mana and a +3/+3 at. Wow, this is really good. I mean, hand buffing is kind of interesting. I remember hand buffing from Gadget Stand, which we also have in the meta, by the way. So there's hand buffing mechanics in the game to begin with. I wonder if they did that on purpose. Man, it's 2 mana, but you get a huge buff. I mean, I guess this is. I don't know if I'd say this is better than a Scrap Imp, but because of the way the Scrap Imp works, but it's really good. In late game, it's insane. Because even if you just get a +3/+3 buff to 1 card in your hand, that still potentially could win you a game. So
it's kind of weird versus the other ranked cards, where most ranked cards just continuously get better. But this card, it gets better, but the effect gets worse.
Yeah,
over
you're right.
time.
Yeah, that's a really good point. You're right. That's exactly what I was thinking right before you said it. You have to play cards in Arena. Like, you will develop some, but a lot of the cards you generate are spells too, so it doesn't really matter for those.
It's hard to judge this card.
I feel like it is best on rank 1 most times. You want to buff early. By the time you get to the buff on rank 2, you're playing that at a 3-drop that has a +2/+2, which maybe is enough to stabilize, but are you getting enough buffs otherwise at rank 5 to basically not lose the game? I don't know. I feel like you'd want to play this early, don't you?
Yeah, maybe it's best like on turn 5. Maybe
right,
on turn 5. Play that and one of the minions you buff. That's probably the best case scenario.
Like if you play a 3/4, right, you get a 5/6
on 5 and 2 more hand buffs or 3 more hand buffs.
Okay, so that maybe that's probably the ticket. I feel like after turn 5, you basically are going to end up playing. I guess you could do it after. I don't think it gets. I think you need to play it at the rank 2 version.
When you have a high enough card number in hand.
But I still think it's pretty strong. I'm going to give this one only because, again, there's an ability for this card to not do a lot later, potentially in some situations. I'm going to give this a 4. But it's still pretty good. And I think this is a really interesting one to talk about because even if you play it on, you could play it on turn 7 and play it with a 5-drop. Because if you're getting a 2/2 buff, you're basically, with the rank 5 version, you're basically, as long as you're spending all your mana with it, you're pretty much not losing stat points. You know what I mean? You're not your card won't yeah. So
if you play it at rank 1, you're getting maybe a 5/5 worth of stats for 2 mana, but it's hard to make it work. If you play it on turn with the 5 mana buff, you're probably getting at least 6 points of stat buffs. Yeah, and you're going to be able to play one of those buffs right away. So maybe
I'm thinking maybe the rank 2 version is the best. Like a tempo, a rank 2 spell with a tempo backup with it is probably the best bet you have, but it is very odd, and they don't typically have card draw, so it's not like you're gonna draw cards and then do this or something. So Warriors usually struggling to keep their cards in hand because they gotta kind of dump them because their hero power sucks. So I don't know. I'll give it a 4, but it's gonna be a fun one to watch as time goes on. Yeah, you're right. We have really cool legendary names. Rokara, 3 mana, 2/3. Legendary minion. It's rush after a friendly minion attacks and survives. Give it +1/+1.
So it's kind of like a frenzy ability that can trigger multiple times.
I guess it can trigger on itself. But anything, it's pretty strong. I mean, if you have, if you have a board and you're trading, like this is really good. But you have to have trades that actually they live. So it's kind of a situational where it's insane. I guess I think I'm just gonna give it a 3.5. I don't know if it's like broken, like because again, there's a lot of situational. This seems to be the theme of the whole set. Like there's so much conditionals. They're very hard cards to rate, honestly.
I like 3.5. It's just going to be tough to make this work. A lot of times you're just going to need to play it for 3 to deal 2 damage. So
yeah.
But this next one is not hard to rate.
Oh gosh, wait, oh dang it! All right, Outrider's Axe, 4 mana, 3/3. Rare weapon. After your hero attacks and kills him, and you can draw a card. What?
Oh, have you not seen this one yet?
No. What is this? What is this, Kellen?
This is a card they made.
Is this?
They admitted to this on their own stream that we submitted it as a two durability weapon, and they came back and said we could do 3, and that's broken. So that's not an exact quote, but
all right. Well,
they're aware that
5
this card
it.
is busted.
I think we 5 it.
That's a 5. I don't ever foresee beating this card. So, yeah.
The fact that this has like, oh man, so like
makes conditioning a lot better.
That's true.
It is. I don't even know what to say about this card.
Here's the thing: Warriors their normal. The thing that normally holds them back is their ability to keep generating value on the board and draw cards. But this does that, so like they can continue to just kind of stabilize and keep refilling their hand. Like this is, in my opinion, something that Warrior really should not have access to. This is really strong. Yeah, this is holy. I can't believe that's funny that they admitted it. I think I did actually. Maybe I did see this card. I don't know, but holy shit, that card is insane. All right, so we have Rancor, 4 mana spell, deal 2 damage to all minions, gain 2 armor for each destroyed. So, I mean, when we evaluate this card, the armor is insignificant generally. It's really just a, it's like a bad Hellfire. So, I mean, it's not that that's bad. I mean, it still does 2 damage to all minions, and that can be pretty good. So, not as good as Consecrate, but not a lot. I guess it's slightly worse than Hellfire. So I don't know. I guess I'd give it a 3.5.
Oh, I'd go even lower. I think that's just too much mana for that effect. But I could see.
No, I mean I think I was trying to like. I don't know if it's as. I think a 3 actually does make a little more sense, to be honest. I don't think it's great. It's fine. I don't think I can give it a 2.5 because it is a board clear, but it's it's fine. Okay, this card is really hard to evaluate in my opinion, and I'll explain why. So Whirling Combatant, 4 mana 2/6. It's a battle cry and frenzy. Deal 1 damage to all other minions. So basically, this deals 1 damage immediately, and then it deals another damage. But if you don't have a way to trigger it on your own, like your own way with Og Merchants or something like that, your opponent's going to get the ability most likely to deal the second set. So you're dealing an AoE, and then it's kind of like your opponent then gets to also choose an AoE that they can trade into. So I still think it's pretty good because even if you just, like, obviously there's potentially a negative effect afterwards, right? But if you just play it as a 4 mana 2/6 and you deal 1 damage to everything, like, that's pretty darn good. So you might clear their board enough where they might not have an ability to go right back into it. I think the upside of the card outweighs the downside of potential downside afterwards. So I don't know. I guess I'm going to give this a. The stat line's pretty good too, and it's going to definitely frenzy with a 6 health stat line. I guess I'll give this thing a. I guess I'll give it a 3.5. I don't know. I feel like there's a little bit of a downside, so I don't know if I can go to a 4. But
yeah, I love this card. It reminds me of Ravaging Ghoul a lot.
Am I underrating this somehow? I don't know.
I think if I'm just going off the play pattern that I used for Ravaging Ghoul, which is I trade into a bunch of stuff and leave them at 1 health. I have no other minions, and then I play Ravaging Ghoul. And if I do that with Whirling Combatant, if it's the same situation, then there is no downside.
Well, there is if you can, if you can deal the damage after you play it, then it's great. I just don't know how. I'm trying to figure out how likely it is that you can deal 1 damage to it.
Well, I'm just thinking you do it the next. So you clear the board with it when you play it. They play whatever they're going to play. You attack with your combatant first, and then play your minions for the turn.
If it lives, yeah. I mean, that's definitely.
When if it dies, then it's fine because you didn't have any minions on the board anyways.
Yeah. Do you think this is like a 4?
I think I would give it a 4, but yeah, I mean I can understand if you're nervous about the downside. There certainly is possibility of that too.
But like I said, to me, the upside of it, there's a lot less downside when you've already cleared their board. So even though there is a downside, like I'm having trouble kind of verbalizing the way I'm thinking about this card because it has, unfortunately, there's a lot of variables because it has the battle cry and it has frenzy. But I am really interested to see how this card plays out. Yeah. So then we have Morshan Elite, a 5-mana 4/4, taunt. And Battlecry, if your hero attack this turn, summon a copy of this. So I don't know. I mean, you do have a lot of weapons, but I typically don't love cards that have conditions, even though they are going to be probably attacking a lot. It's hard to evaluate because a 5-mana 4/4 by itself is pretty bad as a taunt. If it triggers, it's very, very good. I think I'm going to give this thing like... God, it's so, again, as a typical card, I'm going to give this I'm going to give it a 2.5, but there's obviously a potential for this thing to be if your deck has 4 weapons in it, this thing probably goes up to a 4. I mean, I don't know, it's hard.
That's where I'm at with it. I think it's one of those cards where if you're not able to get weapons that are good in your deck, then it's not a good card. If you are, then it's a great card.
And we're obviously going to be taking that 4-mana weapon a lot, so there is that to think about. Okay, Stonemaul Anchorman. 5-mana 4/5 pirate tag. Has Rush. Frenzy as it draws a card.
I like this card.
Yeah. So the draw card is worth something for sure. You're going to it's going to be really difficult to not trigger this one. You're going to be very rarely in a situation where you're forced to use it and not get the card from it because the 5 health is really good and the 4 attack is really good. It's not the strong. It's more of a value rush card. It's not the best rush stats for a rush card, but it's still pretty good body and everything. I guess I'd give this card a 4.
Yeah, I think it's between 3.5 and 4. It's just a good card. Nothing. Yeah. It's not like a crazy
3.5 might be honestly more accurate, to be honest, because it's, again, I think it's for a rush card. It's actually not amazing if you compare it to the ones that are out there. I mean, that's all I'm going to say about that. All right, Overlord Sourfang. I don't know. 7-mana 5/4 legendary warrior minion battle cry. Resurrect 2 friendly frenzy minions. Deal 1 to all other minions. Oh, geez. So this card will take 2. I think most of the frenzy cards are pretty good. I don't remember seeing many frenzy cards that are terrible effects. And we're about to jump right into those with the arena only cards. So anyway, but yeah, I mean the fact that it triggers them immediately could be, and you'll know which ones died, so you might even be able to figure out. You might have that whirling combatant and know that it's going to come out and deal 1 damage. So you might be able to even set up some crazy information. So yeah, I think it's pretty. I think its stat line's pretty rough though. If you don't have if you don't have frenzy minions to resurrect, this card is not very good at all. I think you're going to have frenzy minions most of the time, but they also didn't put. There's no bonus for the sets anymore, so that actually does affect how these kind of things work. I guess because the effect's so strong, I think I'm just gonna give it I guess I'll give it a 3.5.
I think it's just so synergy based. Yeah, it's too hard to say.
I almost want to give this a 3, but I feel it could potentially be so strong. I mean, I don't know. So
yeah, it's
all right, chat.
It's a hard one to say. All right, time for the arena cards. The
arena only cards. Let's
arena
go.
Only. Oh no, yeah. Well, they are. This is what our format looks like. Is the next couple cards. This is what defines it. This is where Twin Tyrant was. This is where Plague Protodrake was. Claw Machine. These neutral minions.
Yeah.
So do you just want to take turns on these?
That's fine. It's fine. We can just do that. That's fine. Yeah.
All right. So the first one is Kindling Elemental. It's a 1-mana 1/2 neutral elemental. Battle Cry. The next elemental you play costs 1 less. I don't like this card. I think it is a 1-mana 1/2 that reduces the cost of a future card. In most situations, that means it's a 0-mana 1/2, which is only 1 stat point better than Wisp, which I already hate. So I think this is a 2.
Okay. I'd give it In the right deck, it might be a little bit more, but I agree with that. Yeah. So next we've got Far Watchpost. 2 mana, 2/4. Can attack. After your opponent draws a card, it costs 1 more. I don't know about these postcards, dude. Maybe we should talk about these. I don't know. What is this card?
They're trying to do stuff that lets you mess with your opponent's cards more, and they're trying to do it in ways that are interactable.
I mean, the stats on these are high enough where like you actually have to trade into them and stuff, but there's ways to value trade these things. And I mean, I guess when they come on the board, if someone does play them, you're gonna actually want to kill them because it'll basically sit there if they play it on 2 and it'll keep making it's like I guess it's like a mana wraith that keeps going, you know?
Yep.
But I don't think I'd want to draft it. So I don't know. 2? One probably lower. Yeah, I don't know.
If you play it on 2, it's just like the caravans, or if you play it on 2, it's gonna be good. If you don't play it on 2, it's gonna not do anything.
I think it's just I think I'm gonna give it a half a star.
Okay, I think it's probably gonna be a little better than that, just because they have to kill it. But it's not gonna be something I'm hoping to get in my deck.
All right.
Next we got Hecklefang Hyena. It's a 2 mana 2/4 beast. Ooh. Battle Cry, deal 3 damage to your hero. I like this card. I like the stat line. I don't care so much about the Battle Cry hurting ourselves. So I would give this a 3.5.
And if you guys remember, 3.5. You know, there was that turtle that was 3 mana 3/5 that dealt 5 to the face, and this is only 3. And we do it already with Flame Imps, and we're happy with it. So there's no qualms about this. This card's great. So awesome card. And it's got a beast tagline. All right, so now we have Lush Water Mercenary. A 2 mana 3/2 Murloc. If you control a Murloc, gain +1/+1. So this is a 3 in basically, you know, any deck, but it has a pretty good upside, and I think it's a little hard. I would still give this a 3 because I think controlling one in some decks this will be a little higher, but it's a cool card. It's pretty.
When
good.
It triggers, it's a 3.5, and otherwise, 3.
Yeah.
Or when you can trigger it. Next, we got Lushwater Scout. That's a 2 mana 1/3 Murloc. After you summon a Murloc, give it +1 attack and rush. This is a synergy card. If you have enough Murlocs to make this card work, then it is good. If you do not, it is bad. So, and even when you have the cards to make it good, it's not incredible. So I would give this card a 2.5 or a 2. I would give this card a 2. Excuse me.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so next we've got I like this card, Oasis Thrasher. 2 mana 2/3 beast. Frenzy, deal 3 damage to the enemy hero. So it's basically a river croc that can deal 3 extra damage to the face. This will be really good in aggressive classes. Definitely gotta give this a 3.5. I honestly wonder if it's probably not a 4. The stats aren't big enough for it to be a 4, but I like it as a 3.5. It's really
I think
fun.
It barely sneaks into 3.5, but it does, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
We got Peon next. It's a 2 mana 2/3 Frenzy. Add a random spell from your class to your hand. That is probably a 3.5. It is.
Yeah.
When it draws you a card, it's great, but most of the time it probably won't. So.
Yeah. And we've got Talented Arcanist. 2 mana 1/3. This one's an interesting one to talk about. Battlecry, your next spell this turn has spell damage +2. So this one's really interesting because this one, instead of where a lot of the spell damage minions in the past, you tried to stick them on the board and then like maybe the following turn get something off. This one's really cool because it's got high spell damage, but it only lasts for 1 spell, which kind of balances it. But then it can, you know, for some classes, for the spell damage classes, this will be really good. I like this for Mage. I like this for Shaman. It's again in generally in a lot of decks, this card probably won't be insane. The stat line's below average, but it does have a high upside. I'm just gonna stick with it at a 3, maybe a 2.5. But it in a lot of, again, the right deck, it can be really really solid because there's things like Shooting Star and stuff. So
in constructed, this card's way better, but in arena, it's going to be tough to make it work. Shimmering Emissary, we've already seen, or Celestial Emissary, the 2 mana 2/1 in Mage. We've already played with that card, and it's good when you have the cards to go with it, but otherwise it suffers. So I'm with you. It's probably like a 2.5.
Yeah.
Next we got Toad of the Wilds, which is a 2 mana 2/2 beast with Taunt. Battle Cry, if you're holding a nature spell, gain +2 health. Gotta depend on the deck. In the average deck, this is a 2. In the right situation, this is a 3.5.
Yeah, pretty much. Like I said, you'll take this in Druid and Shaman a little bit, and it'll be good. But other than that, You're not going to draft it much.
Yeah.
Next, we have Barrens Trapper. 3 mana, 2/4. Your Death Rattle cards cost 1 less. You know, I don't think this card's that great. The Death Rattle is like, you're not going to like, it's not like you're going to suddenly tempo out like an extra 2 cards because of this. The stat lines are pretty bad. I'd give this like a, it does have an upside, but I'm going to just give it a 2.5.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't like this card. I mean, I might even go 2 on it. It's too hard to make
it's
the whole
not
thing
great.
work. Then we got Crossroads Gossiper. That's a 3 mana 4/3. After a friendly secret is revealed, gain +2/+2. I think it's just a 3. It's a normal statted minion. It has nothing special about it. It's way too hard to make the thing work every time, but I just give it a 3.
Yeah, 4/3s are kind of rough right now with the rush and everything, but it's okay.
I'm curious if that changes because of Frenzy. So like 3/2s might be really good because you can trade off peons and Oasis Thrashers away.
Oh, the 4/3s and the 4/3s can kill the ones that have 4 or 3 health. So
so that's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering if there's we'll switch, but maybe not. Maybe it's not enough of a change.
So Death's Head Cultist is a 3 mana 2/4 taunt. Death Rattle, restore 4 health to your hero. So the 4 health a lot of times is going to be insignificant. In some classes, like in Warlock and Rogue, you might actually like this card a tiny bit more. And generally, I'm just going to say this is like a I don't know, like a 2.5 or something.
Yeah.
It's hard to say a 2. I mean, I don't like the 2/4 stat lines on taunts, but it does restore health, so it does do something. So I got to give it a tiny bump, but it's not that great. I won't take it probably unless it's Warlock or Rogue or something, or Warrior.
Next one's pretty fun for Arena. Hog Rancher. It's a 3 mana 3/2
That's
battle
so
cry.
cute.
Summon a 2/1 hog with rush. I love this card. I think this card is a 3.5 at least. Probably a 3.5. The fact that on turn 3 you get to kill their 3/2 or 2/2, and then you have a 3/2 left over.
I think this is a 4. I like this card a lot.
It could be. I don't think it bumps up to that for me, but it is a good card. I'm really excited to play with it, and I'm probably going to take it most of the time.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I like it. Moving on, we have Horde Operative. So 3 mana 3/4. Battle cry. Copy your opponent's secrets and put them into play. This one's a fun one to talk about because it's got obviously the 3-star stat line. It's really good, but on top of it, not only do you get to get the secrets from your opponent, which does potentially give you some value, regardless, even if they know what it is, it doesn't necessarily remove the value of the secret. And on top of that, you get to know what their secrets are, so you get to perfectly play into theirs before you even attack with it. So, yeah, this card's. I mean, you have to have secrets on board to actually make it insanely good, but it doesn't destroy them either. So it's not like you remove their value, but you get that from them. I guess I'll give it a. I could just give it a 3.5. I mean, it's probably not going to go off enough for me to give it a 4, but it's pretty fun.
Yeah, I think it just won't go off enough. I just give it a 3, but it's the same difference.
But it's better than a 3/4, so it's got to be.
It's almost it is a negligible amount in most matches. When it goes off, it's great, but I think that'll happen 1 in 20 times you play it.
Yeah.
At the most. Next we got Mankirk, which is a 3 mana 3/4 battle cry. It's a legendary minion.
Mm-hmm.
Mankirk, sorry, it's a classic quest from Hearthstone in the Barrens. 3 mana 3/4 battle cry. Help Mankirk find his wife. She was last seen somewhere in your deck. So this lets you get Olga, Mankirk's wife, which is a spell that casts when drawn. It shuffles into your deck. Summon a 3/10 Mankirk who immediately attacks the enemy hero. Cool. It is really good. It is a really good card in a long game, but in most arena situations, that's not going to happen. So I think this is a 3.5. It could be a 4 if you're playing Warlock, maybe, but other than that,
or maybe
just a 3.5.
Yeah, I don't even know if Hunter's hero power matters anymore, so maybe. But yeah, it's 3.5 seems fair. Oh, goody, another post to evaluate.
And you get all the watch posts.
Morshan watch post. 3 mana 3/5 can attack after your opponent plays a minion, summon a 2/2 grunt. I guess I feel like this is the best one. I forget what the other one is. Maybe I'm wrong. I think it's the best one because it actually, most times you're going to at least, I guess it's if they have nothing on the board and you play this, you'll probably get a 2/2. And then it's like, okay. But I don't know. I'd still just.
I like this one actually. I think it's tough for your opponent to get through this as at the times you can play it. Like if you play this on turn 3 or turn 5, they're not going to have something already in play that can kill it, and they'll have to play something to get through it. So at that point, and 3 attack on a card is really hard to trade over the top of. So it's going to end up,
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I think this is the best one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if I can give it a 3. I guess I could. Is it worth a 3? I don't know. I'm going to give it 2.5, but I don't know. I just don't know.
I'm not sure how to. It's going to really depend on how the meta shakes out. If you can afford to cast these cards.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Next we got Ratchet Privateer, which is a 3-mana 4/3 battlecry. Give your weapon +1 attack. Oh, it's a pirate. Excuse me.
Oh.
Well, it's a 3, but then in Warrior and Paladin and Rogue, well, especially Rogue, it's a 3.5. So that's kind of where it is. I don't see it going much higher than that.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yep.
Kind of like Naga Corsair, but a little better because it goes down faster. So now we have. Oh, okay. I'm glad I get to do this one. Here we go. 3-mana 3/4, the beefiest of all spider tanks, the Sunwell Initiate, Frenzy, gain Divine Shield. I think this card is really, really good. Because here's the thing about this card, so if you have the 4 attack, then sure, it's just the 3/4, which is fine. But if for some reason they can't do it, it ends up becoming a minion you have to hit 3 times. So I don't know if it's. I guess maybe a minion that already has the Divine Shield might be better, like generally overall, but because you have to hit it 2 times, but it's still really good and really awkward to deal with. I'm gonna definitely give this a 4. It might be higher, but I think it's really good.
Yeah, this is a sweet card. I don't think it's higher than that, but yeah, it's going to be powerful. I think it's like a 3.75.
It's hard for me to say it's not higher than a 3.5 because it's just like it's so awkward.
Like just enough better, but like I don't know if it quite. Yeah, it's really tough. It's a really good card.
Just give it a 4, Kellen. Just give it a 4.
I can't do it. Next, we got one of my favorite cards that they've revealed, Venomous Scorpid. It's a 3-mana 1/3 beast with poisonous and Battlecry. Discover a spell.
Oh,
so
boy.
what? Why does this card exist? I think this is just a straight up 4. It trades with any other card, and it draws you a card for 3 mana. So
I think it might be higher than that. Because think about
poisonous is even better in the World of Frenzy because minions aren't surviving the one.
But like, imagine Primordial, like if Primordial Explorer was like a 3-mana 2/3, and it was like you got a dragon, not a spell, but like the attack doesn't really matter in poison typically.
Yeah, that's why I think it's a 4. I think it would have to do something really like it would have to win the game, or it would have to be a card that is really difficult to answer to get up to a 4.5 for me. But yeah, I mean, it's just 2 cards for 1 card, and each card does something really important. So I just love it.
We know Spell Burst is around, so spells are good. So can't say anything wrong about this one. Okay, so here's one of the first diamond potential cards. We have Blade Master, Samuro. I don't know, Samaro. I don't know. 4-mana 1/6 Rush, Frenzy. Deal damage equal to this minion's attack to all enemy minions. So, I mean, it's gonna be pretty easy to get this to trigger to survive and deal the 1 damage. So it'll deal 1, be like a swipe that does 2 to 1, 2 to 1 damage to minion, and then like 1 to the rest or something. Buffing this, I mean, obviously is insane if there's ways that you can buff it, but I don't think that we're not gonna evaluate it relying on the fact that you can buff it because we won't know your deck. But I think its talent's not very good other than the effect, though. So I don't know. I don't know how to evaluate this one. I guess I'd give it like a 3.5 because its upside could be so high. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's right. And if you have a hand buff deck, if you're Paladin, Hunter, Warrior, and you have a bunch of hand buff triggers, this card goes way up in value. But it's a legendary, so you're looking at a legendary that needs a specific synergy to make it great, and that's tough to do.
Yeah.
Next, we got Crossroads Watchpost, which is a 4-mana 4/6, can't attack. Whenever your opponent casts a spell, give your minions +1/+1. This seems like the worst of the Watchposts, maybe.
Yeah.
It's just that, well, maybe that's not true. I still think it's like a 2, maybe a 2.5. It's a lot of stats to have on the board, but the fact that it can't attack and your opponent may never trigger it means that it's just not going to be that nuts. It's just not, these watch posts just aren't doing it for me. I don't think they quite do enough for not doing anything.
It makes me a little bit sad because I think the one that summons the 2/2, had that one summoned a taunt minion, it may have worked.
Oh, sure.
But without it, I just don't see it. Yeah, it's not, these aren't very good. We'll say 2 or something, I don't know. Probably one less. Oh boy. All right, so this next one is the one everyone keeps talking about. Darkspear Berserker. 4 mana, 5/7. So that's some pretty good stats for Arena. Death Rattle deal 5 damage to your hero. I don't give a anyone that's ever watched me play, at least from my evaluations, I don't give a crap about stuff that does damage to my face at all. So, I don't care if I'm rogue, I don't care if I'm warrior. I will take that damage for that much stats. I don't care. So, 5/7, man. I'm thinking how hard it was to remove a 4 mana 5/5. This thing, I think this is a 4.5.
This might get up there. I think it's somewhere between a 4 and a 4.5. It's definitely It's definitely great. There are going to be situations where you can't play it, or you can, but you lose the game because of it. But man, it's just so.
The thing is, if you're the other thing is though, if you're gonna be at the point where you're gonna lose the game because you play it, you're probably already losing anyway.
Right.
So remember that, chat. It's really good.
Mm-hmm.
I would.
Gruntled. Oh yeah.
No, it's
4.5,
okay.
I think is a perfectly fine grade for that card. It's really hard to defeat. It is way too good for a common. I don't quite understand it. Okay, Gruntled Patron is a 4 mana 3/3 frenzy. Summon another Gruntled Patron. This is a constructed card. It doesn't really do much in Arena. It's too small of a stat line for the mana cost, so it's going to get eaten up by a larger minion every time. I think this is a 2. I just don't think you want it in your deck if you can help it.
Yeah, I might even go lower, but yeah, it's pretty bad. All right, so next one we have is Injured Marauder. It's a 4 mana 5/10 taunt that Battlecry deals 6 damage to this minion. So essentially, this becomes a 4 mana. To make it simpler to understand that are listening, it's basically a 4 mana 5/4. So
it's an evil heckler. It is just evil heckler.
Yeah, I don't think that this stat line is actually particularly great with taunt right now. So I don't. It's fine, but I guess I'll give it a. I guess I could give it a 3, but
I think it's still a 3.5. But it's definitely not better than that.
But I will tell you what really makes me upset about this card is that it exists in the 4 mana pool, because when this gets summoned, when there's a summon a random 4 cost minion, you're going to see this sucker and you're going to be really pissed. You're going to be really upset. This thing is going to lose you so many games.
So Kel, I'm going to let you take the next one because you have the whole thing set up and it is, go ahead.
Okay. I see what you're saying. I wasn't sure what you meant by that, but now I get it. So this is Kazakus Golem Shaper, a 4 mana 3/3 battle cry. If your deck has no 4-cost cards, build a custom golem. So I don't think this card's particularly great. We'll talk about what it actually does here. But the problem is that you're not gonna be actually not drafting 4-drops in Arena, and if you are, you're probably losing, and that's gonna end up making the upside of this not really worth it. But we'll talk about what it does do. So first you select if you would like if you actually can trigger it in Arena, which is a big if. Then you can basically decide if you want a 1/1, a 5 mana 5/5, or a 10 mana 10/10 golem. Then you add 2 different herbs to it. The first herb you add to it is you can either give your 1/1 5/5 10/10, you can either give it Rush, Taunt, Divine Shield, Lifesteal, Stealth, or Poison, which are all pretty strong. And then you do a second herb, and this one is based on which of the golems you pick. So if you pick, it'll basically either give your minion stats, so a 1/1, 2/2, or a 4/4. It'll summon a copy of it. It'll freeze 1, 2, or 3 minions. It can deal 3 damage to a 1 random enemy minion, 2 random enemy minions, or 3. Then it can have 1, 2, or 4 spell damage, and then it can draw 1, 2, or 4 cards. And the second herb is based on which size golem you pick. Obviously, if you can somehow trigger this thing, it's insane. But I just don't think, unlike singleton decks, I think this is a lot harder to pull off than a singleton deck in Arena. So I don't think if I'm going to evaluate it based on how much you're actually going to pull this off and how much you're going to want to draft it, I guess I gotta, at the upside, I guess I can give it like a 3, but you're not going to really, I'm not even sure if I can go that high, because I just don't see how much you're actually going to trigger this thing in Arena.
It's one of those cards that if you take it first pick, it's a 5, and if you don't take it first pick, it's probably a
2.
Yeah.
Or less. Actually, maybe less. Yeah, you have to get it real. You have to basically draft it before you draft another 4. And like you can't even really, you might be able to get away with it with like one other 4 drop. But even then you're waiting for one card to draw till this crazy thing goes off. So I'll give it a 3, but it's hard to evaluate because of the way it works. So
yeah, I think it's either a 5 or a 2, and there's not really, it's really hard to.
All right, you can go on to the next one then.
All right, so next we got South Sea Scoundrel. It's a 4-mana 5/5 pirate. Oh, that looks pretty good. Battle Cry. Discover a card in your opponent's deck. They draw theirs as well. Oh, so you get the card from their deck and they get the card from your deck. This card's awesome.
Oh yeah, it's good.
Holy moly, this card is good.
Dude, I will take a 4-mana 5/5 for that downside, if you want to call it that, every time.
Yeah, that's a prize vendor, but you get to choose which card you both draw. That's yeah. Okay. Give me some South Sea Scoundrel, baby. I'm putting that in my deck. That's a is that a 4? That's a 4.
I would even consider this maybe a 4.5, just because the stat line's so good and there really isn't. Not like when you discover their card, you get to know it's in their hand, and on top of that, Kellen, you get to know 3 cards that are just in their deck in general.
That's true. I would still. I mean, most of the time it's going to be effectively a 4-mana 5/5 where you each draw a card. So I don't know. I don't. Yeah, but I mean, even at that, I still think it's a 4. I love this card. I'm very excited
it's good.
about it.
Very good. Next we have Spirit Healer, 4-mana 3/6. After you cast a holy spell, give a random friendly minion +2 health. Without some kind of effect, I think can it consistently go off. I don't really want a 4-mana 3/6. I mean, the stat line's fine. I guess I'll give it a 3. You're not going to really trigger this, except I mean, I guess it's maybe a 3.25 in like classes where you actually can have holy spells. Yeah. But you don't really want this thing. I might even give it a 2.5. It's not that great. So moving on.
I think with its stat line, you can go up to 3. But yeah, it's a 3. It's just a normal card. Next we got Barrens Blacksmith. That's a 5-mana 3/5 Frenzy. Give your other minions +2/+2. I don't like this card. No. I think you have to. Your opponents can, when you play it, your opponents can then clear the other minions and then leave you at the blacksmith. So there's situations where it will work, but it reminds me of Spiteful Smith with a worse stat line, where sometimes it's great if you can make everything work perfectly and it all lines up. And most of the time, it is not very good. So I would give this a 2.
Yeah, I think that's fair. All right, so we have Burning Blade Acolyte, 5-mana 1/1. Death Rattle, summon a 5/8 demon spawn with taunt. I don't know how to evaluate this thing. Like, I don't like these 1/1 cards because it's such delayed value, but it's a lot of stats.
And the taunt helps a lot. It kind of reduces that delay.
It really does. I used to hate the 4-mana 1/1 that summoned a 5/5.
Twilight Summoner.
Yeah, but this is a lot better than that card.
A lot better.
As much as I don't love these type of cards, I think I have to I might have to give it a 4. I mean, it's a big body, but it's really slow to start. I don't know, maybe 3.5 is fine.
I think the punishes are high enough that I'd give it a 3.5, but in the right situation where nothing bad happens and there's no earth shock type effects in sight, although there's a lot less of those right now, it's probably oh god, Potion of Madness exists, by the way.
Yes, it does. Oh, it does, guys.
Yeah, so probably a 3.5.
No, you guys that are saying this is higher than a 3.5, wait till you play Potion of Madness and tell me you think it's a 4.
Yeah. All right, then we got Gold Road Grunt, which is a 5-mana 3/7 taunt. Frenzy, gain armor equal to the damage taken. This card's a whatever. It's not very good. It's not the worst card. It's probably a 2.5.
Yeah.
There'll be a deck where you don't have enough taunt or the right pre situation where you want it, and then it can go up to like a 3.5. But I think in most decks it's just going to be a 2.5.
Yeah. Then we've got our next Frenzy card, Razormane Raider, 5-mana 5/6. After Frenzy attack a random enemy. Pretty awkward to deal with 6 health. It's a good body, and there's times where this thing could cause some havoc. I like the name of this card and the look. It kind of makes me feel like it matches, you know. You could technically maybe trigger it on your own turn, but then you'd have to put it as a 5/5 that rushes in a sense, and it's random. I mean, it's a 5/6, so I mean, I don't even know if I can I guess I'll give it a 3.5.
Yeah, that's kind of where I feel too.
So
most of the time, I mean, it can attack phase 2, so most of the time it's a 5-mana 5/6 that attacks a minion and then attacks another minion if it lives, and if it gets claw machined, then you're still happy with a 5-mana 5/6. So
yeah, and 5/6s unfortunately they used to be like a king in Arena. They're like pit fighters, but they're just not really.
No, they're the average.
Yeah.
Next, we got Shadowhunter Vol'jin, which is a card. I think everyone got this card, right? When they
Yeah,
the
yeah.
last couple, yeah. So it's that legendary. It's a 5 mana 3/6 battle cry. Choose a minion, swap it with a random one in its owner's hand. Uh, I don't like this card.
Well,
it's just
if they play a
you gotta
Proto
have,
Drake, you could swap it out for something else.
that's great. And if you have a totem in play, you can swap it out for a big card in your hand. But this kind of effect is so specific and so I just don't see it working. Because then sometimes you swap their Proto Drake for a Alabaster. You don't know what you're gonna see. So
Yeah.
I'm nervous. I'm nervous about playing cards like these. There's a lot of downside on this front. And it's really hard to control what you're getting out of their hand. It could be a 1/1, it could be a 5/5, and same from your own hand. So I'd give this a 2.5. It's probably something you'd include if you have it, but you're not to a game. But it also
I
could
might
lose
like
the
this
game.
slightly more in aggressive decks just because I can maybe like
Get a
take a
taunt out of
taunt
the way.
out. That's
Yeah.
about. I mean, that's the only place I see myself really liking this card a ton. And like I said, I guess in those decks aggressive, obviously you'll also be able to take your little mini tokens and maybe bring in something big. But I don't know. Again, there's situations where this card will be great, but I don't think you're going to necessarily look to draft it. Tarajo, I don't know if I said that right. Brave, 6 mana 4/8. Frenzy, destroy a random enemy minion. I mean, it's awkward as hell. It's a lot of health. I don't know if I want, like, I don't like the body. Like, I don't want to like throw a 4/8 down necessarily. It doesn't cause a lot of pressure, but the effect could be strong. But then it's a random enemy minion. It's not like you're targeting, so they could kind of if on their turn they can kind of affect where that goes off. But they're definitely going to lose a minion. I guess it's kind of like one of those, like, remember there's that priest card that like the taunt that like killed a random minion.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the same stat line, but it kind of has
the same idea.
The same idea in terms of how you try to kill it. You might try to spread out to like not lose your big minion, but this thing could definitely be awkward. But I feel like it's too expensive for me to really want to look to draft it. I'm gonna give it like a 2.5.
Oh, really? Oh, I'd go up much higher than that. I think it's a 3.5. I like the stat. Like the stat line is a 6 mana 6/6, so that's like a 2.5 right there. And then I mean it's a 4/8, but the total stats is 12. So and then the frenzy is powerful enough that I think it bumps it up.
If this had taunt, I would like really like this card. I just feel like you could potentially just play this and die because it's just expensive. But I can see it being a little higher. I might be undervaluing it a little bit, but all right.
Next we got Cargill Battle Scar, which is a 7 mana 5/5 that is a 0 in most decks. Battle Cry, summon a 5/5 lookout for each watch post you summon this game. So now we have a reason to take those watch posts, but you're not guaranteed the watch post. There's no set bonus, so it's really hard to make this work. You basically have to be offered the other watch posts in packs where the cards next to them are worse, and then also be offered Cargill Battle Scar later, and then you get the medium version of the old Warrior Spellstone. Yeah. So I mean, this is for constructed for somebody's fun deck that they want to play. This is not for Arena.
Oh boy, I get this one. All right. I think this is our last card, chap.
We're on the last card.
Primordial Protector. It is an 8 mana 6/6 neutral elemental minion. Battlecry, draw your highest cost spell, then summon a random minion with the same cost. Oh, I hope they ban this thing. That's all I'm gonna say. It's a 5, in my opinion. It might be a 4.5, but it's really good. This thing,
I think it's a 4.5, but it is.
Yeah, I think it's really probably not gonna hit the. Yeah.
You might be right.
I think it is a 5.
Really insane.
Yeah, because the thing is like, it's not just the fact that you get like on average, we can say in Arena on average, you do draft a lot of like 4 and 5 mana spells, right? So, at its upside, you need this to basically get a 3 or 4 mana spell for it to be good. If it's under that, it's not going to be great. It'll just be kind of a random body. But even then, it draws. Even if it's just a 2 mana, spell, you still get a spell drawn. You get a spell draw, and you get that spell in your hand. But then, of course, if you actually have like a 8 or 10 cost spell or something crazy, you end up just like not only do you get that cool, amazing spell in your hand, you get this massive body that might even I don't know. This thing needs to be not in Arena. I'm not looking forward to playing this card. These kind of cards are super frustrating because you know, they pull out the biggest card in their deck, and it's really strong. So I'm about looking forward to this one.
I'm a little nervous about that card. That is for sure.
And you get it golden if you get on that track. You know, you get free.
Yeah, so overall, I think this set has a lot of cards that are, it seems like a lot of cards that are normally statted, like just like, for example, Lush Water Mercenary,
Yeah.
a 2-mana 3/2 that Battlecry from Warlock get +1/+1. A lot of cards like that, where it's a 2-mana 3/2 or a 2-mana 2/3 or whatever the generic stats are, and then there's a lot of little bonuses that they provide you. And I think that's kind of the direction they're going. I'm surprised to see cards like Barrens Trapper, the 3-mana 2/4 that lets your Death Rattle cards cost 1 less. Because I thought they were getting away from understated minions, but we see a couple of those. Most of the cards really do seem like normal minions with an upside that if you draft your deck correctly, you can take advantage of.
Yeah, it doesn't actually seem like. What's funny is some of the sets coming back, like into the arena, like Rise of Shadows, seem stronger than this set. So, like, it doesn't seem like the craziest. A lot of the synergies in this set are very. They're difficult to pull off, but the other thing is that I think the meta is going to be kind of similar in a lot of ways. We're having a lot of the same cards, though we are going to see a shakeup with the core set. So it's really hard to really evaluate anything right now because I just don't know exactly how like Druid losing swipe and some of these and mind control being gone. I don't know how it's all going to affect.
It's not like we're just getting a new set. This is a full-on arena shakeup where we're going to have a completely new format because of core changing. This set coming in and 2 other sets trading out for sets that are also somewhat powerful. So
yeah,
it's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to it. We've got a lot to learn in the next couple weeks, starting March 30th.
Do you have one class that you think out of the cards that we got you're really excited about trying?
Warrior. It seems like almost every warrior card is pretty good or has a lot of potential. All their frenzy cards are fine. They're that Morshan Elite that makes a second copy of itself if you attack this turn seems like a card I want to try out. Outrider's Axe is the best weapon I think I've seen.
They also got weapons. Maybe. They got that cash card from the core set coming.
Yeah, so there's a lot of cool stuff in Warrior that I think is going to make it a lot better. A lot more ways to draw cards with the Anchorman and the Axe.
Yeah.
So
I'm really excited about. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm excited about trying Shaman. There's a lot of synergies and like Murlocs and elemental things and there's a lot of pretty strong cards. So I think Shaman's going to still be pretty good, especially with I think honestly I think their hero power changed. If people don't know, they're losing their spell totem and now they're getting one that is a 0/2 that gives a random minion +1 attack. I think that's actually in some ways better for the class. So I'm excited. It's gonna be a really fun time. Yeah, I think the game's gonna be healthier. So if you guys don't know about the news and everything, basically this is going to be releasing in 1 week on the 30th of March. It's usually the sets release around usually 1 p.m. Eastern or so, and that around that time frame, 10 a.m. Pacific. So we are not going to be doing a podcast for this coming Saturday since we did this, but we will definitely be doing a review of what we see in the meta from our first couple days the following week. So it's going to be really, really exciting. Any final thoughts, Kellen? Are you?
I don't know. Not really. I think we've covered everything we were talking about. We wanted to talk about. I'm looking forward to trying out the new set. I think you're going to have a new format to play with.
All right, guys. So that is going to do it for the 9th episode of the Kelcast and our first card review on the Kelcast. So remember, you can join us live at 8 p.m. Eastern every week on Twitch, or you can download the podcast wherever you get your podcasts every Monday. We'll try to have this stuff up by tomorrow on Wednesday if I can. You can also find me on Twitch where I stream daily at 7 a.m. Eastern, or on YouTube or Twitter by searching Keludar. That's Keludar. Make sure to tune in next week where we cover what we found. Well, actually, like I said, not this coming week. It'll be the Saturday following the expansion release. We'll be talking about cards and what surprised us, and we'll be talking about the meta and classes. So it'll be a really fun episode. We'll have tons of new content to talk about with the core set and everything. So it's going to be really fun. Want to also say thank you to John Laux for the music used in the episode. You can find links to all of our contributors in the show notes. This has been the Kelcast. We'll see you next week.
Okay, Kel, what the heck is that warrior weapon? How did they do that? That's insane.
What the fuck?
Why would they make that card?
I don't know.
What are they doing? Outrider's Axe is so stupid. I don't ever want to I don't ever want to see my opponent cast this card.
Oh, cycling cards with a good weapon, like it's actually with the third durability. Like if it's a 3/2, you're losing a little bit of a 4/2 is like a good solid weapon on 4. At a 3/2, you're kind of like you're paying a little bit for your card draw, but as a 3/3, it's actually just a good weapon, and you're getting
I
the
don't
card.
understand.
It actually it kind of like doubly bounces it because now you're getting an extra card and you're getting extra swing. So like a durability in that card really matters. Like it's not just
why would they make this? I don't understand why they would make this. It's so powerful.
Yeah, well at least Warrior probably is gonna need it. We'll see. But yeah, it's
Oh my god. I don't yeah. If any buff to this weapon, any weapon buff is just gonna feel like you're just gonna slowly crumble in tears in your computer desk chair and just slowly fall over. I don't want to see this card. I never want my opponent to play it. Every time my opponent queues up Warrior, I know they're going to have it. Yep. I just if I get to 8 wins with a class and my opponent has a Warrior deck, you can bet that there's an Outrider's Axe in their deck. Oh my god. This is going to be like Troublemaker, but it costs 4 mana, where you're just like, well, I guess I lose. They did that on time. Ugh. I'm not excited about Outrider's Axe. All right, I got to go to work. I'll talk to you later.
See ya. That's it. Our first card review is over. See you guys soon.